I'm live, and Bernie's left me.
Weird. Cut out there. Take two. Sorry, guys.
Hello, and we're back, and Bernie is showing the love with his sunglasses.
Hello. Welcome. We are live for a weekend at BurnEye's special. Saturday night here in North America still, and Sunday in Australia. Sunday morning for you.
Oh, afternoon. It's 2 in the afternoon here.
Already. My goodness.
Yeah.
So we're going to do a Grand Tartarian Thesis rerun, essentially. And for all of you here, you know, if they've been here for a while, know what's going on. A lot of this information, you know, will be quite familiar with you, but at the same time, it's kind of a giant cohesive clumping it all together and connecting the dots that myself and Cambell did yesterday on LeakProject.com live. Rex is going to be publishing it and putting it out on his YouTube here in the coming days. And then you all are blessed to have us redo it again with you today, tonight, right now, right here.
Yes, so if you did watch it yesterday, then we're just showing it again, basically. But yeah, it's because we want to get onto the tubes of you, or onto, you know, PooTube, who are blocking me again. So I don't like PooTube. I think we need a class action.
Really?
Because they're literally stealing money from everyone.
Because like the Social Blades, it's this little YouTube monitoring app thing that I installed, and on your channel, it's like down 10% over the last 30 days. You've lost like 5,000 subscribers, and it's like, how the heck is that possible other than straight manipulation by their algorithms? Like,
yeah,
you should be gaining that much, not losing it. It's insane. And now I'm on my third channel, two removed now. Like I should have 5,000 minimum subscribers. Instead, I'm at 110. Yay! Anytime I'm finally able to monetize again, they just nope, no luck, no chance, nothing at all.
No, it's just crazy. Like, I was looking yesterday, and on the stats for the lives, like, it's that I'm not gaining subscribers, I'm losing. Like, every live it's like negative 10 subscribers. So check that you're still subscribed, because they're clearly seeing who's tuning in, and that's who they're unsubscribing.
Yeah, that's a good call. That right? Like, just savages.
It's just shocking, man. But the thing is, what really is it's just outright theft. Because if they're doing our numbers and we're monetized, they're literally stealing revenue. So I think
they don't want to pay. It's straight theft, 100%. My dad, I was even talking to him, and he's like, they don't want to pay you, Bernie. Like, each time I'm big enough that I qualify for the ads, and then it's like between your channels, LeakProject, Alien Scientist, and all the others I've appeared on, I've calculated, I have several million views already just on my content that's still up there on other people's channels, right? It's like just ridiculous.
Ridiculous. So we battle on, we soldier on. So hello everyone in the chat. Kevin MacArthur, Stephen, Rossi, Hans, Lynn Simpson, Drago, Julia, L LQ King. Oh, is that LG? LQ? Is that LC King? Have you changed your name? Isness, hello, how you going, Michael? And everyone else
Kiwi.
who's in here.
Oh,
Eliza.
so GT 98.2 Mustang, Gilgamesh from the Bronx, Dragon Locha, all welcome. And it's because all of you amazing souls that join in, watch us, support us, that we are here and continue to do this for you all. So without further ado, I guess we'll play a little, we'll start it off here. Playing yesterday's, and let me know how the sound is, everyone, please.
All right, enjoy.
What remains of old world downtown cities in each of these ancient cities, such as Moscow or across Eastern Europe.
Sorry, I paused it there. I'm gonna. This is one of the benefits of the rerun is I can give context and show some pictures of what I'm talking about here, and that yesterday's it cut off the start, so you didn't get to see what I'm talking about and how these old world cities, the Fareham Foundation, his research of these geoglyphs that he's both deciphered and discovered. For instance, this massive star fort citadel in Portugal here. The different lines in it, the angles are the same geoglyph mapping, as well as the old world cities. For instance, Moscow, which I'll show you now, these old star cities, their geometric layouts within the old star cities, also those roads and angles Fareham has discovered and mapped out here in Moscow, showing it's also these same radials. So I'm showing currently oops.
Is my audio working now? Because
yeah,
it was working before.
100%. I can hear you.
I think it was going through my computer before, but okay, because my mic was muted.
So anyway. Just sharing the Fareham Foundation. So this is the Bosnian pyramid, some of the radials here, but it goes down. So Moscow city here, and that Fareham has done the street geoglyphs of this old downtown canal star city, Moscow, old city, and that it also maps out these crazy radials. The same territory of Russia is literally can be deciphered from the street lengths and angles of downtown old Moscow. So it's so fascinating to see this, and that it's both in these old star cities that this technology, geoglyph radial mapping, is ingrained in the architecture, as well as here. Now you can see this bottom one, the Portugal star fort citadel there that he's deciphered with these geoglyphs. So it begs the question now, are all of these old star city, old world layout architectures, including these geoglyphic maps and territories? And if so, that would prove that just 300 years ago, maybe 200, maybe even some of the powers that be still to this day are building our own cities that we live in today, these territory encoding systems. So it's something that I think the more people start looking into and applying this geoglyph science to the star forts and to Tartaria, that it's undeniable evidence that it's actually ongoing, that they know about it, that they're using it, and it's global.
Yeah.
Or not worldwide, plane-wide. Sorry, I don't mean to offend.
Yeah. And that's the thing, like, the things like the Georgia Guidestones may have been one of their markers, you know, because they have all these markers and all these strange buildings everywhere, and, you know, things like the new Australian Parliament building with a massive, you know, pyramid on it.
Right?
So they're still
That's a
they're still
good
using
point
this same
too.
kind of science. Yeah.
Right? Like, did those Georgia's Guidestones include that? Did they blow it up because they're like, oh shit, people are looking at it now, can't
People
show
getting
that
onto
like
it.
we just built this 60 or 10 years ago, and it still has it encased, right?
Yeah, what I heard was because there was a viewing hole for Polaris through it. And if you look at the turning, the way that they say that, you know, Polaris gets changed and we get a different pole star, apparently it should have shifted in 50 years. It should have shifted out of that circle, if that's true.
Yeah,
And it
yeah,
happens to be
it's like 72 hours is 1 minute in it, or
yeah,
72 days or
72
whatever is 1
years is
minute.
1 degree or
Years,
something.
years,
Yeah.
yeah.
And it was getting to that point, and so someone said maybe they knocked it down because people would start realizing that nothing was moving.
Right? All sorts of different possibilities for
Who
sure.
knows?
Quickly, I guess right before I hit play. Oh, sorry. Oh God, what have I done? There we go. There we go. There we go. All right. Before I hit play again, I am just about to share my new channel in the live chat for everyone. Please do help me out and go over to the channel, the stream on my channel, and hit subscribe again. You're more than welcome to obviously migrate back to AutoDidactic's live chat, as it's much more happening. Just please make sure.
What are you doing? Don't listen to him. Right here. Don't listen. No, go across. Let's get Bernie up to 115 subscribers. No, we need to get it back up to 1,000.
Okay, I lied. I started the day with 137.
Yeah,
so let's get me to 150, hopefully, please.
Resubscribe. So what does subscribe mean? If scribe means to write, below right, under right.
Submit, right? Are you submitting your power to that, right? Like you're submitting your conscious mind.
What are you doing? What are you subscribers? It sounds very nefarious.
It can be. It's whether the intent is positive or negative. Are we builders or destroyers? Parasites or angels? It's up to you.
I agree. Definitely. All right, and with no more I've lost the word. Let's jump into it.
Star forts as well as the canals.
God, I can't even think.
It's that you can see. It's also in like Shanghai, China from the 1500s
maybe
and back,
stand up a touch,
throughout Germany, throughout Russia, and that the canals actually still go through. Like for instance, in Russia, yeah. So here's one in Portugal, one of the star forts, the huge amount of terraforming around it, and amazingly, this one is still in pretty much pristine condition compared to the destruction of most of the ones you find today, or some of the rebuilt kind of facaded but more destroyed average star fort. But this one, you can see the main 4 spire star fort design, and then one of these fractal geometric crowns, I guess, going to the west or to the left there of it. And that this Great Wall of Tartaria that we're going to show you, it's actually one of these, but not potentially, who knows, maybe back when they were built in their prime, each one of those star forts could have been one of these. You know, archaeologists really got to start digging around with the lidar and stuff to see, and often they do have vast underground complexes and chambers and caves and buildings, foundations that you find in these star forts. Even like, for instance, the Statue of Liberty is built on the base of one of these. And there's so many with the canals, the earthworks, the artificial islands of this culture, this technology, and this building. It's just insane, the terraforming around it. And then when we show you
This is a real building.
Tartaria, it incorporates both. You'll see the canal network going up the Dnieper River. It starts, I believe, either in the Sea of Azov or to the left of it, the Kherson region of Ukraine, where I'm talking about where this Great Wall of Tartaria, we've dubbed it, and it runs across all of up from the Black Sea there, through the heart, up the Dnieper River, and then it splits up.
Richie, it's real. It's in Portugal.
All of northeastern Ukraine, and we'll show you the plotted course of it and go along a bit of it that me and Cambell had gone through and on Google Earth and found, and it's literally every kilometer across this, like thousands of kilometers of there's Cambell, of this Great Wall of Tartaria, that there's one of these buried star forts, the exact same four-petaled basic imprints of these star forts. And then there's the vast, like each of the, you know, whether it's Berlin, whether it's Moscow, whether it's New York, whether it's Shanghai, whether it's pretty much any city, Havana, you know, wherever, Brazil, like every single city metropolitan that existed 500 years ago, 400 years ago, that there's a map of, it's built in this canal star fort, Star City citadel style and layout.
That's what I'm talking about. Cambell, we have another star with us. So now we've created the Star Empire. And looking forward to hearing this information. I'm really actually, I know very little about these star forts in Tartaria. Some of the information that I have found out outside of you guys, I'm very skeptical about. So I know little, that I'm just going to give you guys an open platform here, and if I have questions, what's been going on? It's been too long.
Thanks for having us. I just came back from Melbourne. Melbourne's just crazy. Melbourne, Australia. It was actually founded by Mr. Batman, and it's literally like Gotham City. It's like full of these amazing old buildings everywhere, and so that was cool. We actually did a live event there, so that was good fun. And I've just been working, lots of editing.
Right on.
And
right on. So who's the Joker?
Sorry?
Who's the Joker?
Who's the Joker? Oh yeah, well, I think it's Dan Andrews.
Okay.
Dan Andrews, the premier, the communist premier who locked everyone down. That's got to be the Joker, right?
No.
Hello.
Yeah. He's competing with Trust in Judo. Sorry, my country.
True joke.
Right on, man. Well, I didn't mean to throw a wrench out there. Yeah, really looking forward to this. So
just a pretext of like Tartaria and essentially like this reset sort of idea. The maps we're going to be showing from a few hundred years ago, that a lot of the facades that you see on these brick buildings, on these old world buildings, on these Greek or these Orthodox or any sacred, any ones throughout history, like the cathedrals, the castles, all of them, that it's actually what the facade was them rebranding, redating, resetting the story and the build date, and that it was reclaimed, it was refound land. It was rebuilt. So a lot of the pictures, you don't ever see the basements. You now see, like across India, across all of the world, another term, mud flood, is that there's these layers, archaeological layers, that somehow happened in their claimed build dates of 100 to 200 years, supposedly, that they're built. Yet now they're digging out 2 layers deeper that there's not on the official blueprints, that nobody knew about, these fully fortified, like huge buildings with windows and everything, and these new layers, and they're like, oh my gosh, it was so much bigger. And it's like, where did it come from? And okay, what is this facade now? And, you know, these robber barons that supposedly came to the New World, and was there actually an old world that had, you know, some sort of like free electricity or understanding of like DC electricity or hydroelectricity, so that sort of stuff, atmospheric electricity, and like the steam engines and all of that. And maybe it's not as far-fetched that, you know, we were a lot more advanced in the wizards, the magic, as well as like the holy, you know, experience and stuff was actually just technologies that we know today as and call technology.
Yes, so there you go. But this is the thing, I mean, and just in Melbourne, we were walking around and literally you see one building and it's designated as, you know, a church or a cathedral. And then the building next to it has got all the same features, all the cathedral windows, everything, and it's a bank. And then like next to that, there's something, you know, the same feet, it's the same building, but you know, it might be something else. So it's like they redesignate all these buildings. So we say that, you know, they weren't founded, they were found. So I've got some pics I can share my screen. Whereabouts are we live? Are we on YouTube?
We are live on the website right now, LeakProject.
Yeah, we're live on YouTube.
We're
Woo!
live. They're free, unedited, uncensored. The guests can ask questions in the chat. And so, folks, you want to
Awesome.
join us here every Friday at 8 p.m. Mountain Time for Bernie, the Mad Alchemist, and Cambell. Now, Cambell, how was it? Autodidactic?
AutoDidactic. That's how you say it with, you know, an Australian accent, but
Autodidactic. That's not a knife. That was terrible. I'm so sorry. I'm going to edit that out, folks. Okay.
We didn't let you edit it out.
oh, whoops. Okay, sorry. I was just watching the stream.
Yeah,
I'm
absolutely.
just getting the link. Okay, I'm ready here. Yeah, autodidactic, which means to be self-educated. And of course, we need to be self-educated, because if we're not, the only choice we have left is to believe what other people tell us. And we can see what's going on at the moment, right? So I'm just going to share your link in my Telegram group. Excuse me. And then I'm going to share the screen. All right. So let's see. Now, I actually, you wouldn't believe it, but I lost my hard drive, decided to commit suicide. So hang on, am I sharing my screen? That's not right.
Yeah, that was the screen of all the slides.
That was where is it? Picture, okay. There. Okay, so this is obviously our cathedral. So this is what we look at a lot with, you know, this is what we call Antiquitech, because all these features, we see them just everywhere, all these, you know, spires and bits and pieces. And, you know, we started wondering, what is it all? And when you look at the makeup of it, this is all, they're basically antennas to pull in etheric energy. And you can see it, you know, the domes are also, how do I move this? Also in there, but we see this stuff everywhere. And this is like a house, you know, what we're told is a house. But you can see we've got these same features, these same spires on the high bits, lots of iron. And when we see a lot of this stuff that's been, you know, demolished, and the columns and things, they're all full of rebar and iron and all this iron strapping. And then we get these photos, 1904, St. Louis, Missouri, World's Fair. So this is a later one, but we've got pictures of these types of things from the 1880s, like literally a couple of years after electricity and the light bulb and everything was supposed to be invented. We get these pictures of just lit up, you know, cities with the World's Fairs. But there's no explanation as to who put the electricity and where all the wiring came from. You know, how all these things, like everything we look into, there's no story of how they were built. It's literally, you know, this guy built it and they give you one name. And then if you look into, you know, where was the rock quarried, where did the glass come from, where did the metal come from, there's no evidence for anything. It's really bizarre. But I mean, look at the intricacy of this spire, right? You can see some wires hanging off there. So we're told this is all, you know, for the glory of God. And I mean, look at the size of this place too. You can see the people down here, doorways up here. And so, you know, what is God, right? What is the glory of God? What are they talking about here? This is an old world city, a picture from, I believe it's in America, like one of the world's fairs. But we see these everywhere. These, I don't know what they are. What are these, Bernie? Some kind of like grid antenna, but they're wireless.
Waveguide antenna. Sorry, yeah, I will hold myself for the questions and not interrupt you, especially from you in Australia, me in Canada, and Rex in Colorado. They're recording that. I don't want to screw it up and talk over each other. So yeah, it's fractal waveguide antennas, and they're for harnessing and transferring atmospheric electricity, and it's the electrical potential differential between the tops of the spires, and then, as Campbell mentioned, the domes, and then they have these iron connecting rods, and they try to claim that rebar is a recent invention, but you go into these cathedrals that are thousands of years old, and they're connected from these metal domes down through the red bricks. And it's that also lately they've come out and stated that these bricks can be used as batteries through these superconducting materials and the dipole differential between it. And now I will shut up and let you go back to it.
Yes. And so you can see, like, just all the buildings, and this you know, would probably be designated a government building, but same thing, right? Domes all over them, spires, these what are called sort of belfry bits up there. But the other thing is they're all in horse and cart, right? And they're surrounded by these amazing buildings and this architecture that, you know, we can't replicate this today. And it looks like, you know, free energy too, right? Or at least the remnants of some kind of free energy, you know, system. But we just see it everywhere. Another dome here, and we see this a lot, this antenna, and, you know, see how it looks kind of cross-like. So they'll leave that and say, oh, it's Christian, it's Catholic, but they're not. They're just antennas. And then, you know, sometimes we see the half moons, and they say, oh, that, you know, we'll designate that as Arabic or Islamic. But then, you know, you go into a country that's not Islamic and you see the same thing. But it's just the intricacy and the detail they put into everything.
Michael R., I do believe so.
I mean, look at the information that's encoded. Just, you know, just looking at this, you could sit here and stare at this for hours. But what they build today, these square, you know, black boxes, there's no information encoded in them. Like, you can't, there's nothing there. But the old world were building things like this.
Put over top of the once functioning technology, right?
Yeah.
Functionality of like disconnecting a wire here, taking off the wrapping there. Like, we all hear the stories that the pyramids, when they were found, were covered with different layers of both minerals as well as golds and metals and stuff like that. How many other places were, and was it actually for technology purposes with the it's the dipole as well as the the word will come back to me, but between the rock, like the basalt, the granite, and then the sandstone, and then the metals, and that it functions as this macro-sized battery power generator harvester.
And here you see, this is an old, you know, these are what we're told are, you know, thousands of years old. Obviously, it's been, you know, reconstructed. You can see all the cracks in these pillars. And what do we have here? But we have rebar coming out of the top of this pillar. You know, we see this stuff everywhere. And, you know, there's big questions over a lot of these sites. Because, I mean, look at this. This has clearly been rebuilt. And just, so we don't know if this is the way it was. You know, that they've redone Stonehenge. Here's another one. This is an obelisk, or was, and you can see it's just full of metal. You can see that's the antenna, and it's directly connected through metal all the way down into the ground. So this is, you know, what we sort of think they're all solid stone, right? But are they?
That looks like a modern day, like a 5G telephone, or like, you know, your satellite antenna. And this is what was inside those obelisks. And like at the very top, the bulbs on each of those ends, like, was that mercury? Was those other metals? Like, what is that? That's technology. That's Antiquitech. And underneath this geopolymer, we were lied to saying that like most of it is all stone, but a shout out to a fellow researcher, Paul Cook, that will be on with us again here soon, and the extensive work he does over there digging into the geopolymer facades that are on top of everything.
Indeed, yeah. So everything, and that sort of first came out with the pyramids too, you know, how they build the pyramids. And I think it was David DeVitos, I think, is that how you say it? Came out and said they're geopolymer. And now we're looking around and it looks like everything's geopolymer. You know, we see the walls with, you know, you can't fit a human hair between the bricks. It's because they were laid wet, is what we're finding out. They were literally poured in bags as geopolymer. And then we get things like this, right? We get this, you can see, you know, we've got this city built
You know that, Frankie R.
doing excavation work, and this happens all the time, right? They go to build a new building, they start digging down, and you can see these would have been popping out of the ground, but clearly goes down. There's even, looks like a doorway down here. There's another one sticking up here, and it's got a whole building underneath it too. So this is what has been termed the mud flood. You can see how much that is. You know, it's as high as that at least. A lot of buildings seem to be half underground. That there's been, you know, a catastrophe that we haven't been told about. And, you know, catastrophism used to be taught. You know, it used to be common knowledge that there were regular catastrophes. But that information has been held back from us for the last sort of century or so about these regular catastrophes. But, you know, the evidence is everywhere. And I mean, look at this. This is just a church, right? They're just all the same features. And this, of course, we see heaps. These doorways, and they're so big that they literally go and they cut a smaller doorway in for the, you know, because why so big? And you get this in Australia, which is a brand new, you know, colony pretty much. When everything was built, everything was supposed to be built 1860s to 1880s. When Australia was less than 100 years old, and they build things like this in Australia, 3 times as big as they need to be, which requires 3 times the materials, you know, 3 times the workers, 3 times everything, which doesn't make sense. But I mean, just look at the intricacy they go to for these chapels, right? And these, when you look into it, these are all electrical components. And then, of course, we have these
array of it, right? And that, imagine that there's probably, they were coated in gold or silver or at least copper, the actual conductors that, you know, maybe when like an electrical, like a thunderstorm rolls in or something, maybe the whole building probably powered up, sort of
exactly
thing.
Yeah. And of course we have these cymatic, you know, shapes and windows, you know, the rose windows, the stained glass, they're all cymatic shapes. And the shapes and the motifs and, you know, they're just repeated on all these buildings, you know, from Australia to America to Europe. It's all the same, which is what, you know, is telling us that this was, you know, a worldwide previous civilization. They just kind of say, oh no, it was built like that because it was a revival style, or, you know, something, you know, like this. But, and it wasn't really. And here we go, right? This is the US Capitol.
I'm glad you brought that part up. I had just written notes on it. It's the cymatics, and lots of it's like the octaves, the sound actual octave scale of the cymatic frequency that are in those glass windows, and that the organs play that exact same sound tone, that then that fractal geometry is actually a two-dimensional waveguide antenna of the structure of that same shape of the, we've seen a lot of the hydrogen atom repeated in it, as well as the solfeggio frequencies and the Schumann frequency, and then the octaves out of the sound and in the actual organ harmonics itself.
Messy desk. Yeah, so here we go. Piano notes. And as you can see, these are all cymatic. A sharp, B, C, and they're all these cymatic shapes. Now you get these, obviously they look like, things like snowflakes. Excuse me. But we also see these in the work of Dr. Emoto, where he freezes water and through intention, he either speaks to the water or sticks notes on it saying, I love you or I hate you. And when he says, I love you, he gets these perfect, geometric patterns. When he says, I hate you, it's just this goop. And so these are also like, the windows, right, on the cathedrals. So these are cathedral windows. This line here, these are, rose windows, or they're all in cathedrals. And these are cymatic patterns, which are created through frequency. So either harmonics or intention. And, they're exactly the same, right? Down here we have, it says these are DNA. This is our DNA. So these are fractals or cymatic patterns of our DNA.
Yeah, so it's the resonant shape of it within the water liquid that it's being caught or imaged in. So it's these sound frequencies, and then the resonant frequency is the vibration rate of the mass of the molecules of atoms that make up like yourself, or just a single particle, or anything and everything in between. And that they all have this, and that it takes form, it takes physical form in this two-dimensional liquid. And what are our bodies but 80% water, exactly this.
So this is what he gets. This is Dr. Masaru Emoto's work. So when he got glass and he stuck, and he literally just had to stick the words on it for a week, then he freezes it and photographs it. And this is you full, just, no shape, no geometric pattern or anything. And this is thank you. And that, of course, also, apart from looking, pretty much like a snowflake, it's looks like a star fort, which we'll show a few photos of in a minute. But this is what we get when it's good intention. We get these perfect, geometrical shapes, and when it's bad intention, we get this goop, right? So this is like a polluted river, and this is like a clean river. And so if we tie this back to the cathedrals that have got these windows, right, and they're connected to the ether with all these spires, and then what else do we have in cathedrals but these things called organs, right? And we have these things called organs in our body. And we just saw the DNA, cymatic is the same as some frequencies in these windows. So what this is all looking like is these are healing factories, or not even healing, wellness, I guess, just to keep people well. They were pumping out frequencies into the the greater communities, but also you could go in there, because in all these places we have domes, and under the domes there's always these cymatic patterns, and like this place you can stand where the sound's focused. Here you go, this is all music, Mozart, Imagine, and this is I Will Kill You, right? Peace, Thank You. So this is water from a polluted river, and this is the same water after someone's offered a prayer to it. And so this is what Bernie was saying, we're 70% water. So literally every molecule of water in your body is making one of these shapes. So the question is, what shape are you making? Because the way you do that is with intention, right? And with sound, which is what we speak. So what we think and what we speak literally changes us. It literally changes the makeup, the frequency of who and what we are. And there's just some more these are tones played through water, so different musical tones. And again, we're seeing the same thing everywhere. And of course, this is not the best picture. I mean, look at the information encoded just in this, in this photo.
Hey,
right?
Campbell, let me,
ridiculous.
sorry to interrupt real quick. I just want to make sure that the audio stuff is going to be taken care of on Bernie's end. Bernie, a moment ago.
Okay, kind of paused there for a second. Do let us know if you hear what Rex is about to say, that there's this like toad-like frog sound. I don't know if it actually recorded or not. It seemed to be messing with him yesterday. Anywho, Cambell's back. I forget what else I was going to say. Researching Tartaria and sound together. Make sure you tune in for our upcoming next Science of Sound series and pretty much the entire Science of Sound series. And I think, Cambell, we should make our next episode 5, specifically on Tartaria, like frequencies in sound and like acoustic properties in architectures and into that whole depth of it and connecting the Schumann and solfeggios in with it.
Yeah, man, indeed. Let's do it. I've even got some recordings of an organ in a cathedral.
Right, exactly. That's another good point too. Yeah, and the stained glass windows, what cymatic frequencies they are in accordance to the organs and the different acoustics.
I'll find that lady too who records the silence. Have you heard about her? She goes into cathedrals.
You told me about it, but I've yet
to
see it. Yeah, we need to get that.
I'll find that as well. We'll whack that in, yeah.
And then Daniel Foster, you are also always welcome back in for our Science of Sounds as well. And not just that, I will have you and Jeremiah on together soon for another update episode, specifically just on your anti-gravity drives. Today during APEC, even Mark Sokol of Falcon Space gave Daniel a shout out and admits that Dan has mastered controlling and producing these oh my goodness, scalar waves, a scalar field wave out of the generator device that he's made, and that essentially it's these anti-gravitic propulsion device engines that Mr. Daniel Forster has come up with and is sharing with the world. So we love to have you back on and help you get that message out, my friend.
Cool. And hello, Laura. And someone said, Michael, no glass in those windows originally. Yeah, probably not. They were probably more like amplifiers, speaker type things.
The thing is not. I think it's more of a crystalline glass within the like. Gold,
definitely not the stained glass stuff.
Guide wave that these are, right? They're antenna array. Essentially of these cymatic frequencies, and then with the right crystalline like in between those, the metals of it would be an absolute amplifier and connecting the light to the sound, essentially the light energy into the sound energy of it.
So it wouldn't be like what we see today. And the spelling cymatic. So obviously psi is the same as psi, right? CY, PSY. So it's to do with the mind, right? And affecting attitudes. I think it was Jim said maybe they used it to affect moods, and I think they definitely did. But good moods, right? And then that was flipped, right? Altered, and now they're hitting with stuff, to try and put us in a bad mood. So all right.
I will have
You had some weird, it sounded like a bloated toad in the background.
Rabbit.
Can you please talk for a minute to make sure that's gone? And we're like, we'll go back and this is very interesting information. So, okay, so just talk for like 10 seconds and let's see if it's back to normal here.
Am I a normal human again?
You're normal, and I do not hear that
weird
toad sound in the background. So I don't know if you were doing some alchemy experiment with the toad and plugging it into mercury or something to see if you could get some type of monatomic trip. But we're better now. And thanks, Campbell. Sorry about that.
I thought you were going to grab a ukulele and start singing Somewhere Over the Rainbow, Bernie. No, what is it? Why
did you hear it? Did you hear
many? Yeah. It was Campbell the Frog.
It was bad.
Anytime I mention or post about rainbows, I get myself in trouble. So despite my love of the natural rainbow and light and how Isaac Newton studies it and, just the beauty of it, last time I posted something about a snowflake and a rainbow behind it on Facebook. 52,000 people created a protest against me to get me banned from the Cambell Music Festival. It just...
That's kind of like, what do they say?
cancel culture or retardation? I don't know.
God, I can't think today. Being the same as reality, right? Like, Like literally by them doing
Cognitive
that, they
dissonance?
kind of they proved that they were snowflakes, right? Because
Oh, yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah,
like,
right.
thanks for proving me
What
right,
a-
guys.
Oh,
Art
man.
imitating life. That's what I'm trying to think of.
Yeah, right. Pot confirming that it's a pot, not even calling the kettle black.
Yeah, yeah. The pot saying, "Yep, I'm black."
All right, back to the main show. Love you all, and you gotta have a sense of humor in life, right? Like, if I do offend, I am extremely sorry. It was never meant to or intended to be so. And like the definition of snowflake,
email us and we will ignore them.
right?
We don't really care.
Don't melt with just the smallest amount of pressure. That's the key. Back to the show.
All right.
Oh
So,
dear.
What do
But
we
it's
look
better
at?
now.
It is. We're better now. Thank you.
Well,
again,
I'll mute out.
these
So
well, you go.
You want me to pause it, or was that from yesterday? My bad.
What? Did it stop? Did the video stop? Can't hear you, Burn. You're on mute.
I did mute myself. Whoopsies. Okay, so the organs we do believe are some sort of probably a healing technology, or at least like a conscious connecting frequency, or a combination of both. That also being in these energy points, like these nodal points that these cathedrals and sacred structures, this Antiquitech is built on, right? They're in the combination of ley line spots. So they're these energy points, and then they're these specific octave harmonic cymatic frequencies that the organs were playing, and then the acoustic properties of the cathedrals that a lot of people I've seen talk about experiences where they've both had in heightened conscious or out of body experiences during those, as well as stories of physical healing as well from it. So
and under all the domes, they have what they call the labyrinth, those circles of mosaics.
Yes, which are essentially fractal.
They used to walk around. Yeah, which is another fractal shape.
Yeah, and they're waveguide generators. It's a fractal waveguide antenna is what those things are. That's the technical term of it.
And people used to walk it, like walk the shape, like follow it into the center, and like you just do that slowly, and the whole time the organs are playing, so you got that frequency in you. You're under the dome, you've got all these different aspects of it coming into you, and you spend that, and it's there to give you that time to sort of absorb it all, and then that's the healing, right? The healing circle.
For sure. Like there's got to be so much energy configuration and just harmonics within that it truly makes sense that there's a deep science and powerful energies and technologies that this was, and it's just being in tune with the natural energies and fields of the universe, as opposed to our shredded, like just not the good fractal, the shattered frequencies, the scattered frequencies. It's not whole and it's not healthy, and we got to get back to the natural resonant frequencies of the universe.
And of course, that's why they were holy places, because you go there to become whole again.
And when you don't, you get even holier, filled with raining shards. Oh, man. All right. Once again, back to the main show, so we make it through before the day is done.
Bernie's got it. We're good to go.
Bernie, you're on mute now, buddy. These are cymatic windows in a cathedral, right? So again, I mean, it's a bit of a small picture, but you can see it's the same stuff. right? So these are all, it's all, and we're being told, you know, all the time, everything is energy, everything is frequency, right? So this is, you know, this is looking at sound, literally. We're looking at sound. This is the shapes that make it up. So I'll just get rid of that, and we'll have a bit of a look at some star forts, which are all, you know, everywhere across the world. Again, we get these same features. So this is a star fort, and so this is it's actually, like, they call them star forts. They're, you know, clearly not built for war, but they try and tell us they were. But this is like a citadel part. So this is just a smaller part of a much bigger structure, because what we've now found out is every city basically was a star city. It had these stars around them, but they were all walled, and you can kind of see, you know, a bit of the old wall there, but also cymatic shapes, right? And look at this, they've all, and these are the moats, we're told, right? Because we're all taught that castles and, you know, were these square buildings with a moat. But when we can see them from above, there's these intricate, you know, cymatic patterns. And clearly you can see why we call them star forts, because they look like stars. And these are literally everywhere. And it's the same thing. These are in, you know, the US, South America, Africa, Europe, and even Australia. But we're told they were all built between the mid 1500s and the 1700s. But Australia wasn't found until 1788, which causes a bit of a problem. This is in the Netherlands, and as you can see, this is 5-pointed, and in the middle we have a pentagon, and then on the outside you'll see there'll be 5 detached 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bits. Then it sort of explodes out, but they're all based on geometry as well. There's another 5-pointer, and these things are literally everywhere. And this one is a bit more intricate, but just to show you the size of how big they are, like, this is a big 2-story building.
And this is actually a close-up, a different angle of the star fort picture in Portugal that is the cover photo of the stream itself.
Yes, yeah, that will be coming up. But yeah, so you can see these were, I mean, this was almost a city in itself. You know, that's like a castle. This is a 2-story building down here. These are all 2-story buildings. So this thing, I mean, you can imagine the amount of rock and material that went into this, you know, without even talking about the effort and transporting it there, because they're all built on, you know, on hills, right? Well, here's another one built on a hill. So you got to get all the stuff up there. I mean, the truth is that probably the hill is probably, you know, the rest of the staff being covered up. But, you know, again, we look into these stories and they just don't make sense. You know, that they kind of say, oh, well, you know, they were having a war, so they just built this fort in 6 months. You know, the soldiers just whacked it up. I mean, this is Fort McHenry. This is in the US.
And all of these at a time that supposedly there was no electricity, no power tools, no nothing, right? So it's like, how? And like the moats, the water, the canals that connect it all, and that we'll show you some maps here before it's all done of the old world cities of them, and then the canals that connect through. It's across the entire continents, and the amount of terraforming, and then it makes you take a relook at like even North America and the Great Lake canals and all of that, and over through Eastern Canada and stuff, all of that. But that's a story for another day. I will let Campbell continue into it.
Yes. So in this one, I think this is in the Netherlands, but in all of them, you'll see this is a cathedral. They've all got these cathedrals sort of in the middle of these star cities. You know, it's all connected. It's all one system. And of course, there's water everywhere. And what we're discovering now, again, Paul Cook's done some good research on this, is all these cathedrals seem to have these big cisterns under them, big water holding tanks. And so it's almost like, you know, they were the charging sort of stations that were charging the water, right, with all these good frequencies, and then that was going out and into the fountains, right, because the old world was full of these fountains. And then we get these funny stories. Like, again, I was in Melbourne, and the story is that it was built like it was fully, like there's a picture, and it was fully built out in 1884. And then the story is, but they had no plumbing until 1889. So they want us to believe that they built the city and then they went back and what?
Everywhere, but no public, no
and
toilets in your house.
There's
like,
fountains everywhere.
Like,
but yeah, how do you retrofit a plumbing system or a sewage system, right, under a city? And if you're that advanced to build a city that fast and that big, I'm pretty sure you'd think about sewage. So we just get all these silly stories. You know, here's another one. This one, I can't remember. I think it's in Europe somewhere, this one.
It might be in Asia too. That one might have been in Asia. There's lots throughout, like
there is a lot in Asia, yeah.
China, Korea, even.
Yep. And you know, they're all these different. They all sort of seem to be designed for the space, you know, for where they are. They're all slightly different. So,
and look at the river there. Look at the canal city that it builds in, and it's like, we'll show you these maps that are like 500 years and older, that it's like they've already built that canal. That river has already been built, and then you go in and you look, it's all megalithic brickwork, this ancient, like huge stuff that there's no accounting for, but clearly it was made by some sort of civilization at one point, but not who they're claiming did it.
Exactly. I mean, that's another thing we've noticed is, you know, if you've got a river in your city or town, go and have a look at it and check out the shorelines, and you'll find, you know, a lot of these shorelines are man-made, and you know they're a man-made canal because so many of them have like equidistant banks, right? For they're dead straight.
And not just that though, I've started noticing lots of them, and especially through the Great Lakes area in North America, and I started noticing these Tesla valves built into it. And it's like, suppose the Tesla valve is like a valve system of hydraulic pressure that Nikola Tesla invented, that like actually steadies the flow rate and like prevents currents, erosions, gives you the straight everything, and keeps it perfect. And it's like, this was already pre-built in before and created before Tesla even existed. And then you start seeing these repeated over and over and over and over and over again in all of these old world star cities.
Yeah, it's just mad. And I mean, the way we got onto this is we just, you know, you look at the story they give us, and then we go out and we actually look at what's out there at the actual sorry, I'm just playing with my screen again. At the actual what we've got in the physical world, and it just doesn't make sense. The stories do not match up. And this is a top view of that one that we were looking at before, where Bernie said it was the thumbnail. So this is in Portugal, yeah. And I mean, look at the edges here. And these are, I mean, we saw how big these buildings were. These are huge. And look, they just these perfectly straight, you know, angled geometric legs. I don't know what they are.
So Cambell, I gotta pause you on one part of that. So what me and Rex were talking about prior to you joining us is that we took the same picture from the Ferram Foundation research, and it's that he actually took this one right here and did his geoglyphs to it and got that same geoglyph map out of this particular one. So now it's the potential that each one of these could be the same geoglyph network, and as every citadel's earthworks now, the map to everywhere else in the world. And boom, does that rewrite all history? Like, whew.
Yeah. Bernie's excited. So what he was saying is each one of these points coming off, if you extend them out over the, you know, the world, they'll match that, they link up with other, you know, either stars or old world sites, or, you know, so there's this map, there's this grid, you know, and that's what's being hidden as well. And you know, we theorize that it was tied to free electricity, you know, free energy. And that's of course what they've taken, right? They've stolen the power, you know, and then now they get us to go and vote, you know, to keep them in power. You know, it's crazy, right? And we're just everywhere. Like this is just in the middle of some town, and they, you know, it's been turned into a sports field or something, and you see this stuff everywhere. Oh, sorry, Bernie, I thought you were going to speak.
Oh, so I was just going to say a little pretense of like how you're saying the power, and that that ties back into another awesome researcher that Rex you've had on before as well, that me and Cambell have done lots of work with, and we're going to do a couple more coming up with Michelle Gibson and her circuit.
Just paused it for a second for the geoglyphs. There are some videos on AutoDidactic that I think it's like pictures in the ground. A couple weeks back, we did a pretty decent one on it, and we will be doing more
medicine. The Guardian of Medicine hat, I think it is.
Yeah, right. We did that last week. That one we also covered a decent amount, and we will do more on it too, right? Like we're all learning this together. It's just fascinating. The research itself, I will right now. It's the faramfoundation.com. Here, posting it in the live chat for you all right now, and this is the website of the geoglyphs. Feel free to go check it out and delve in yourselves, because there's just so much in there. And thank you so much for the support, Miss PG.
Oh, wow. Thank you very much, Miss PG. Much appreciated.
Board Earth, and we're going to try to have her, Paul Cook, and the two of us together again for putting together these power systems. And now it's like a battery. The Star Fort is also known as a battery. I can't even get into it. She does such a great job, and you've got it a lot more.
Yeah, and that's a good point. You know, they've taken all these over, and they could tell us that they're forts, right? They're all built for war, and of course they call them batteries. You know, when you've got your troops, you charge, right? Charge. You know, there's all these electrical terms. You know, there's many more that I can't think of now, but you know, all these words as well seem to be tied in. You know, even voting, right? But you know, you go between the poles, right? The polling booths, you know, between Boaz and Joachim, and put them into power, and all this weird stuff. So there's so much, you know, like spell casting going on as well. You know, they've really, you know, what they've done is changed our perspective, so we can't see what's really there. That's how they, you know, hidden in plain sight kind of stuff. This is Amsterdam. So this is one of the old maps Bernie was talking about. I'm not sure of the date on this. It'll probably be somewhere, but 1600s, most of these are. And you can see, apart from the fact that this is a completely built out and clearly designed, you know, city and walled, right? They're all walled. This has canals everywhere. See, these are canals. You can see the water here, and these clearly man-made canals that go everywhere. And the amount of bridges in these cities was ridiculous. Here's the main canal. They always have like a main sort of grand canal, all man-made. And then that, for some reason, they always seem to have an island, you know, some kind of island in them.
Kind of looks like an industrial trade area within the city sort of thing, you know, kind of like how you see rail yards, but it's more like, what's that Italian city, or the shaking hand there? Venice, right? It's Venice, like every city was Venice, essentially.
Yeah.
What it was. In this realm and world, only a few hundred years ago, every single city, as we'll show you, because you can literally Google any city of the old world from the 1600s and back, and it will come up in these star fort shapes, and every single one is like Venice, and there's canals everywhere. Those were the highways of the time, but they were also so much more, with all of like this hidden technology, infrastructure, and buried history.
Indeed, yeah. And you can see this one, again, always got these big cathedrals in the cities, but here's one of the stars, right, or batteries attached into the wall. And there's even another one of these more sort of irregular shaped ones out here, but they always have these stars attached to these star cities. And again, the canals, and you can see this is a big island kind of thing as well. But the thing is with water's free energy. You float a boat, you use the current, right? The current.
You have the not a windmill, but the water wheels. What are water wheels? Water wheels are harvesting electrical power. Not necessarily. It could be electricity just as much as it was the physical power and mechanical power that they used out of it. What's to say that, windmills and water wheels weren't actually generating hydroelectric and wind power a few 500 years ago?
Indeed. I mean, yeah. And this
or
is
further back, if the big reset happened before, and then, just the leftover remnants after some sort of giant catastrophe or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. Which is what we see everywhere. This is a drawing. This is New York City, right? Battery Park is because this is what was there, a battery. And also in New York, think of another picture, Wall Street is literally where the wall of the walled city was in New Amsterdam. This is Hamburg. And again, you can see these cathedrals, and look how massive they are compared to everything else. And these canals, the water, walled city. And can we see the star in this one? No, sometimes they're in the wall, sometimes they're different, but it's obviously, they're all set up to harvest something.
I just
right?
had this epiphany that if this isn't the biggest evidence that pre-Columbus, because this is all essentially the time right after Columbus, but this infrastructure would have had to already have existed for hundreds of years prior to Columbus, at least, and the maps do show it, that all of the infrastructure and all those ships, those are all seafaring ships you see docked in each one of these cities. And they're trying to tell us at that time there was no global travel, no human global civilization, yet it seems it's all seafaring, all water travel, all it's just backwards.
And all, geometrically perfect, excuse me, perfect. And the thing, we kind of discovered these, right? Because now we can see them from above, a bit like the Nazca lines. So how were they doing this, with the level of technology? How were they even designing and laying these out? Because these are cities, we're not talking something small. This is what we're looking at here. This is a city. This is, Palmyra, is that right? Palmyra. I can't pronounce it properly, but this is a massive city, right? And we're told that they were just built by these sort of band of people just in a 200-year period. But then again, the problem, like Bernie says, is you go to the US and especially Canada's full of them. There's Star Forts everywhere. So how, because the story is literally, they say they were all built by the French or Italians between early 1500s and 1750. And this is every single city
Callum.
you get a map of, they're all like this, all slightly different, but all clearly the same, components and designs. This is New York. So this is actually an overlay. Someone's overlaid a modern map and put an old map on. So you can see that's the battery in Battery Park. And see this wall? That's the wall from the old world city. That's Wall Street. Wall Street. It's called that because it was literally the street with the wall on it. And this is all stuff that we're just not taught about.
Sorry, Kim. Well, before it's all done, we're going to show you the Great Wall of Tartaria. That is that exact same wall shape. You're going to see, we're going to show you that exact same wall go all across Ukraine and all across Siberia, larger, 3 times, 4 times larger than the Great Wall of China. The exact same as you saw Wall Street's foundation is and was.
Yeah. Another thing you'll notice is all these buildings, apart from the roads being very, irregular, they're all red brick. Everything's red brick in the old world. It's all red. It's bizarre. I mean, they were all bluestone. They did use bluestone and a bit of sandstone.
It's not bizarre if you take in the context that red bricks could have been used as batteries.
As batteries.
This new understanding of it that could be this ancient technology, and batteries built of bricks that are batteries that are called batteries that could be battering everything. Then it does kind of make sense that it's all red brick.
Yeah. And this is what these cities look like. So we're not talking, you know, small little towns. You know, we're talking massive structures, completely built out, domes everywhere, the cathedrals, you know, all these old world buildings we see everywhere. This is what was, you know, this is what was making up these old world cities. And they were all built in these massive foundations and stars, you know, but with, you know, what, hammer and a chisel and a horse and cart.
Right.
You know, I mean, we could not do this today.
Like logically, like thinking from like a Star Trek Vulcan, the logic, there is zero logic on why people with horse and buggy that were supposedly in civil wars, no power, like starving, plagues, like all at this time, would then spend the time to dig out and build these extra little shaped petaled islands, these triangles, these extra layers of watered moats. Like it's
for what?
Doesn't make sense. It's just so illogical. It's beyond stupid. They would have all died and there would have been nothing left if like people were that stupid. There's much more to it.
Yeah. And you see this all the time, right? Like, look at this, the size of this city, completely built out in the shape on
many resets, I'm guessing. It's a constant knowledge genocide and reset ongoing.
Right. So, and we see this everywhere. You see these photos and these old world buildings with these little wooden shacks next to them.
Right. And Campbell, I gotta pause you right there. That is such an excellent part. And that if you go exactly
what video I'm watching once this is over. Shout out to John Levy.
Shacks right there.
It's
and it's the only part of the bank that is green and muddy that has been eroded away. The rest is this terrace stone that was already there. And then you're seeing these metal roofed stone buildings and everything. So it's that these people almost at this time, they were building, repairing, recovering with wood and recovering on something that they inherited and have come across after this reset, after whatever cataclysm or whatever happened. That, you know, it's like, it's just, they were not the ones that really built these structures of that time, you know. It's
That's the one. Of course, this is Vienna, Austria, right? And it's in a massive star. The whole city is a star. But, you know, they just go in, they fill them over, and and then that's the next question is, why do they spend so much time demolishing this stuff? You know, I mean, but that's also, you know, with these flooded buildings that we see that have, you know, levels underground and that, it sort of, you know, goes along with the story, right? These were found. These were people after some kind of cataclysm trying to, you know, get their life back together. They found these cities, and so they just kind of moved in and used what they could. You know, some of them were dug out a little bit to get down to doors if it was easy, but a lot of it was just, you know, left because they didn't have the technology to do it. That's what, you know. So those maps, literally, like Bernie said, any old world city, you know, especially Europe and that, because they're easy to find, they all look the same. They're all stars, all starfort cities.
Do you have one of like Shanghai or something? That's a really good one, or Beijing, one of the Chinese ones, just to show, like, you know, we've seen like New York, we've seen all of Europe, and then just to prove like it's identical on this other side. And it's like, we're tried to be told that there was no contact, no global like interaction, trades, or anything like previous these times. Yet they're trying to tell us that simultaneously everybody that lived for the hundreds of years before that time just decided to build these like extravagant, over ridiculous infrastructures and earthworks and terraforms and civilization. Like, it's so ridiculous, and that it's everywhere.
It is. And I'm just looking for a quick pick because my hard drive, my portable hard drive, may have got wiped. I seem to have lost everything. But here's a picture. Let me just share this of Shanghai. And the other thing about, you know, Asia is we get these, you know, obviously the Hiroshima, right, the bombs, and we see these pictures, but then we get these pictures of US cities, like Richmond and these places back in the 1860s that apparently went through the Civil War and then they burnt to the ground. And they look exactly the same as the pictures we get of Shanghai. So it's, there's just so many questions. But look at this. So this is, I can make that bigger. Oops, maybe not. So this is Shanghai. And look at these buildings, big dome. Right, these are the same, like big columns, a Romanesque building here, tram systems. All the old world cities had tram systems. So it's literally the same thing. We just see the same thing, over and over again. But there is an old map of Shanghai, but it's not going to let me. I don't have it at the moment, so I'll stop that. I do have other pics. So this is the thing. The old world. That they tell us, that there's this story that we started off low and that we slowly built up our technology, and now we're the epitome, we're the best and smartest and rah, rah, rah. And on top of that, we're all slaves. Woohoo, what a mountain to climb. But when you look into history, they were more advanced. The old world looks like it was built for the benefit of the people, where clearly the world we're living in is not. Right, we've been taken over by, we all know it, right? Corporations and all this kind of stuff. Can I see the chat? Oh, I didn't know that. So I think I've got some more.
Exactly, Campbell. And from my alchemy background, I started reading all of these alchemical writings and text translations from the 1600s, 1500s, and you start to realize and get a sense of the conscious mindset of society at that time. And they all speak as fact that the ancients were much more advanced than them. That these pyramid cultures were highly advanced from them, and they're just trying to recover this knowledge, and they're in awe of the ancients that built everything else. And then when you take that into your own conscious self and export the YOLO, you only live once, this is the best we've ever been, the best we ever will be sort of mentality, and you start seeing these things, you're able to then be understand them better and start taking them apart and being hey, that's a capacitor, hey, that's a fractal waveguide antenna generator, this is actual technology on the highest levels. And then the geopolymers, the different semiconductors, the nanotechnology, there's just so much to it, and we're just finally starting to really understand what's been left over from the ancients. And that sure, lots of things maybe in those times they tried to imitate, rebuild copies in awe of those grand big architectures of this global past and stuff, and that just in tribute to it. And maybe they didn't have the technology, or maybe some of them did have it functioning for whatever they used to be doing with this, all the antennas, the different, it's just limitless possibilities.
Ridiculous. This is Asia, so you can see it's more stylized, but it's the same, kind of set out. They got their big antenna in the middle, and you can see there's wires and things hanging off this. It's all, but of course, again, it's all, it's always religion, right? It's always, for the glory of God and all this kind of stuff, which again, what is God, right? Is God the energy that, creates and animates all life? Is that what they were going in to receive?
Energy too, Campbell, right? If when these things were functioning and fully had all the connectors, the pieces of metal and everything in it, then was it generating these glowing lights, or the hues, or the power of God, the glory of God? Was it lighting your homes? Was God lighting your actual home by making the plasma within a tube or whatever lighting up, with the magic, or the God, or the magic of God, the energy of God, right? And it's easily, then that's how you controlled, and that's how you were in awe of the ancients that knew how to control the magic of God or the power of God. And easily that's manipulated by it. And then this reset of YOLO, oh no, we're the best ever, don't look at that, don't think of that, no, nothing of that, don't try to understand any of it, don't realize how much more advanced not only that we used to be, but that we can also again be today and in the future.
Yeah, and I mean, and we get stuff like, I mean, India's full of stuff, but we get stuff like this. I mean, what, what's, we just told it's decoration, but that clearly looks like some kind of, I mean, what does that look like? Bernie, a plasma cutter or some kind of spark gap generator?
Fractal capacitor, or like definite, that has waveguide antenna like generating in it, and going down to the focal point, and those fractal angles going in, and you're seeing these repeating layers of dark and light, probably of a type of sandstone, and like an insulator, and then a conductor, insulator, conductor, insulator, conductor, which is the base work of these modern day, what's the word I'm looking
Orgonite?
for? Not just capacitor, but
capacitors, yeah.
Well, it'll come to me, but another little electronical piece, transformer and transducers. Sorry, that's what it is.
Yeah.
And then when you have the connecting wires with, like they were stating that they were covered, layered in gold flake, silver flake, copper, these different sheets, you put that on top of that, that is like a macro processor of these computers that we're using today in the micro. And that's another part of the circuit board Earth. And
That's
take a look at the different sites, and that it's a silicon, like resonating things, like megaliths and structures made on these energy grid sites, the ley lines and whatnot, and that it's just mega sized macro processing technologies and grids, just like our microcomputers and smartphones that we're using right now here.
Yeah, we've just gone micro, but they went macro. And this is just a shot. I mean, apart from the fact that they knocked all, the best houses down and left this, I mean, you can see in the this was how it used to look, and you can see half of it's underground, by the way, these funny little windows in the ground. But look what they've ripped off it. And this is what we see everywhere. I mean, that's a red brick building though, but they've ripped off this big front door, all the nice trimmings and everything, and just left it as this ugly building. And they do this all the time. And then of course they leave the buildings to go derelict, and they go, oh, it's too ugly, we'll have to knock it over. Here's an organ, right in front of one of these cymatic windows. And if you've ever been inside a cathedral when one of these organs is playing, they're amazing. And another thing with these organs is we find them, obviously they're in the cathedral, but then you find them in these random buildings where they've got no place at all being in there. But they'll just have an organ in some government building or a library or,
Post office, in your local post office, we have an organ, right? Like, it's perfectly acoustically built geometrically to that entire post office.
To the post office, right? Yeah. And so this tells us that they found these buildings and they were just designating them as different places. And of course, when you get to places, like England and a lot of European cities, they keep, the old world, they don't do much because they keep that as the European look, right? When you come to Australia, they put tin roofs on everything and verandas, and they give it the Australian look. You go to Tuscany and everything gets covered in orange, and that's the Tuscan look.
The local facade.
The local facade.
Reset founders, those robber baron founders that then founded the facade. And
Freemasonry,
right? Yeah,
they like their free buildings.
His story is not my mystery.
Yes, his story. It's not our story. And this is St. Louis, I believe, 18. What was it? St. Louis, 1880s, I think 82. And look at the look at the lights. I mean, this is literally, within 10 years of them, sort of sorting out electricity and the light bulb and that. And we have these cities just completely decked out. Now, where did all the electricians come from?
Right, like the trade of it. How did it just get invented in like a world where you're traveling by steam train and horse and buggy still, that all of a sudden within years you have all these trained people all over? and that these were at the world fairs. And what really fascinated me about the world's fairs is like their story that they were claimed of just being like made of like paper mache buildings sort of thing. And then the ones where there's actually still leftovers, like in California from one of the world's fairs, it's all actual giant marble freaking building statues and stuff left over. And like the canals, like, oh, okay, so you're gonna tell me that you're gonna just paper mache wood over these
canals,
fake giant palaces, but then do all the terraforming for the canals and all the water and that intricate, it just doesn't make sense. And then the photos of them, there's always, just like how, you know, you have like your Chinatown, your little Italy town, like your local areas in your big metropolitan cities today, or like the embassies or whatnot. You go into these world fairs and there's these same sort of things that like are of either like old Greek, old Roman, or like the Tartarian, or like the different ones. And that it's like, was this just these metropolitan grand places of Tartaria, or this global civilization that the founders have found and conquered and then destroyed, the robber barons, and then that they blew them up after each one, sort of thing, is like a goodbye to the old and the reset into this new. And then they probably got at that same reset time was when they ended the illusion of like the magic of the technology of electricity under like magic or God, or like the power of God or magic, and turned it into technology for everyone. And no longer, because the churches, the palaces, the cathedrals, they look like the most highest tech advanced, but also in every small town that had this atmospheric electricity potential harvesting with their different domes, the dipoles between them, the giant structures that there are and everything. But that's a whole episode all on it. But just that they would have been God, the power of God, bringing in this atmospheric electricity and like using it and distributing it, you know, to some levels. And then from that now, oh no, it's available to everybody. It's electricity, it's power. And now you have to be charged to be charged, you know, to have the power, you have to be charged now. It's no longer free, it's no longer natural, it's no longer coming from God or pure energy, right? Of possible intent and creation. No, now it's this slaved charged system of you know, fire and destruction to create the power too, right? Like that we're destroying the earth. It's no longer in harmony. You're no longer bringing it out. And
well, that's one thing we don't see in the old world is big, you know, power stations as we know them. But then we get pictures like this where they clearly got a lot of power, but you can see all these spires everywhere.
The fact that you just brought that up, that there's no big ones, and it's documented Edison and the DC, they had to have the like little tiny small ones every block sort of thing. So that it's like, oh, well, these were just like the transformer stations from like potentially the cathedrals or like the big buildings that were generating it from their spires, that electrical differential from the top to the bottom. And that also the story of how electricity was discovered is absolute BS of Benjamin Franklin and the kite and whatnot. Because you find all of these science books that are like written in French and Germanic. They're from like 1615, 1400s, and they're titled chapters, atmospheric electricity, like whatever the dialect is. But then you see it where they have like 10 different layered lines going up, measuring above the air, the atmosphere from the ground, and then up along the cathedrals, and then the spires up, and literally the numbers, the measurements of the electrical potential differential, the higher you go up in that spire from the ground, and the charge differential that it produces. And that there's, you know, you use these transformers, these transducers, these things, capacitors, batteries today that we're using on the micro scale. But when you take a step back and look at like the blueprints, the actual designs and the materials that these fascinating wonders that we do not build like today anymore, that they're the exact same designs on a much larger, more advanced style than we ever anticipated. And it's all about water. And was it, you know, the water of life that the healing, the energy, the mana, the charging it? And I will let you cover that.
Yeah, I mean, this is a fountain. This is a fountain. I mean, and these things were everywhere. And look, just dirt roads. They got their pots to get their water, but look, this is clearly, you know, high tech, right? And this is the thing. Like Bernie was talking about the World's Fairs, and the story is that they built them out of paper mache. You know, literally, that's what they say. Because they were temporary, then they could knock them all down. But we still have buildings standing today that are clearly not paper mache. You know, some of them clearly were, and they knocked them over. But even with all their stories trying to explain away, they never explain who built all the canals and who did all the plumbing for the fountains. Because these fountains were shooting, you know, water 20, 30 feet in the air. It was all pressurized. It's not easy to do.
Just in a little context, I think this is a picture of, I think, like
Penn
New York or
Station.
something. Yeah, Penn Station. So just this one might have been made by the people of that time, but look at how there's no like glass windows. The architecture is so much less, how bare it is, but it's still the same size of those massive, like giant palaces that supposedly were made of paper mache of the World's Fairs, yet the pictures of them, it looks like actual palaces. And this picture right here, this building looks like absolute junk compared to them. And it's just how lit up they were with both natural as well as electrical power and light in those, and water. And just how is it paper mache and wood, yet you have these stone fountains going through all of them, producing massive like fountains displays both inside and outside of these supposed paper mache buildings, yet still no toilets. Like it just like who is the one that's like, hey, okay, we're gonna put in these underground pipes for these fake buildings that we're gonna end up tearing down, but we're gonna have to build all these bays, these canals, these waterways, and then underneath them we're gonna have to, you know, get the metals, the amount of forges for the metal for the pipes, or what, like the stonework, whether it was those, whatever it was used to make all of the what's the exact hydraulics of those fountains and waterways and terraform. Like it's just the engineering, it's just such a joke. And it's like, but no, toilets out of the question. And
and kitchens, they don't seem to. All the buildings don't seem to have had plumbing in the buildings for, you know, for kitchens, for water, for sewage. But you walk outside and there's a massive fountain out there. It's like, what's going on here? I mean, look at the size of some of these cathedrals. I mean, these are people. I mean, you know, the time dates we're given of these being built, it just doesn't make sense from the skill level, but also why make it so big? Why make it so hard for yourself? Why use, you know, literally 20 times the materials that you need? You know, why try and work up, you know, 100 foot off the ground when you don't need it? Just doesn't.
At a time of no supposed electricity or power, and you're using your own labor, horse and cart, and no.
Yeah, horse and cart. And this is the other thing we see. They're all dirt roads. You know, so they build these buildings, but, you know, they don't even pave a road so that they can get all their materials in. They're going to drag these carts through these dirt roads, apparently, you know, to bring all the materials to build a building like this. But I mean, and look what's in the background here. Look at this. You see that? I think that's a fountain. And again, that just looks like a cathedral spire, which is another, you know, we just get these repeating patterns. I mean, look at this. Like, seriously.
Like, so you can't even pave your roads, so it's going to be harder, more injuries on your horses, like the more breakdowns on your wooden wheels, like just, you know, absolute disaster of your daily commute, daily lives, you're going to not focus on that. Instead, you're going to build useless towers or like fountains or obelisks instead, of you saving your daily workload exponentially and your horses and like your profit and your energy, like it's the stupidest, most illogical BS. Like the more you think about it and look at it.
Yeah, well, there's a channel, Whistling Diesel, on YouTube, and he does all these things with cars, and he actually got wooden cartwheels made and put them on his four-wheel drive and went for a drive, and they lasted about 20 meters, and then they just snapped right? Under the weight.
He's an amazing like redneck mechanic that like just absolutely kills it on the wild side, but like it, there's real science and stuff coming out of it too. But like it's prime examples of just how impractical so many of these claims are. And yeah, he was an Amish mechanic YouTuber, like just wild guy. If you haven't seen the Diesel,
he's done some cool stuff. But I mean, so that's it. I mean, even my background here, I mean, this is a library, right? I mean, they don't build them like they used to. Everything in the old world was just ornate, just covered, and we're just told it was just all for the glory of God. But then you go into a bank and it's the same. You go into a mental asylum. I mean, those things were the biggest buildings, in every town, city of the sort of late 1800s, 1900s, and with all these amazing gardens, and they're called lunatic asylums, but they look exactly like what they call a palace,
right? The prisons and the
prisons are all castles.
You're going to make them identical to your castles, your government structures, your holy sites, and like no, they were all of these founded buildings that had a facade put onto them, and they were used for either the reset and reprogramming of that time, or given to the robber baron elites to do what they want of it, and then like this one final show and then disassembly to our modern practicality and usage. And I'll show here when you're done with the photos that you have, Campbell, a clip of our Great Wall of Tartaria episode.
You've got a clip, yeah?
Yeah, I've got it loaded here.
Got one, yeah, I'm done. Yeah, I've been hunting for photos. I found a few this morning, but I've lost 45 gigs.
Oh man, that's the worst. I know your pain right now. I gotta get one of. I actually have a couple of saved hard drive removal external.
That's what I got.
That I just need to rehook up again, and I should have some good things. Right? That's the worst when they do die. And it's like I think I have some gems hidden I got to go through.
So hopefully I can recover it anyway. But yeah, if you want to roll that, roll the film. But so basically, what it looks like when we look into history is we read the story, right, the narrative, and then we go out and we look at these cities and towns and old maps and old books and that, and it's a completely different story. What they tell us just doesn't make sense. So clearly they're hiding, our story, right? And they're turning into his story, like and Napoleon. If it was Napoleon.
Right? Okay, but I am so confused. Like, I took like a little bit of history in post-secondary, and it's like there was some like 10, 13, maybe is like 7 or 8, but like a whole ton of Napoleons that like. It's like
apparently someone called Napoleon said it, but what they say, history is a set of lives agreed upon, and that's true, because we know
if that was real Campbell or yesterday's Campbell talking or trying to interrupt into Napoleon, but it was yesterday's Campbell. But I paused it there for a second. We've got AutoDidactic 2 for round 2, so we got 2 Campbells, 2 AutoDidactics on right now. How about that?
I know, right? I mean, 2 places at once.
Oh, existing in the metaverse matrix, right? It's a wonderful, wonderful thing.
Yeah, why not?
Did you have anything else to interject here, or should I just let it go back to
No,
the
just let it roll.
Okay.
I think I'm on a roll. I just want to say a big thank you to Hippie Shake, who's doing an amazing job, as always, as a mod, and to all the mods. Thank you.
Please help me out and go over to subscribe to my
Go and sub to Betty channel, everyone.
Love you all. Thank you.
No, right? History is written by the winners. So if there's a war, or someone goes and conquers a country, they're not going to tell you the truth about the people that they conquered, and they're also not going to tell you the truth about what they did, right? Because what they do is not ethical. We know this, so we don't get so we're starting from the back foot anyway. But then they've literally gone and they've tried to hide the past, because we lived in a world where everyone was peaceful. We had free energy, we had abundance, we had all this stuff. And when you have that, you can't be ruled, right? If you have an abundance of food, and you have land and house and community, no one can talk you into going and getting a job and working 40 hours a week, right? You can't do it. So this is why they hide that, so that and they tell us this story that we're now the best we've ever been, right? So that we don't think, well, hang on, we're being scammed here, right? We actually sorted this out a couple of 100 years ago, or a couple of thousand.
YOLO.
And you came and stuffed it all up. And so this is it. The remnants are everywhere. Just go and have a look in your local town and city. You'll see these buildings. You'll see the mud flooded windows that go into the ground. There's forts everywhere. There's ruins everywhere. And the more we look in, the more we're starting to find, and we're starting to put this whole picture together.
Actually, Cambell, before I roll a clip, I need you to find and pull up at least a couple of maps of both like the Tartarian area as well, so like we can give some
I don't think I did maps, did I?
There's a one of the CIA's first notes, or like statements or whatnot, when it was officially brought into service from like the War Department or whatever the heck it was.
Oh yes, I didn't
after
get
World War II, was claiming about Tartaria and how the Soviet Union was suppressing and hiding the history of Tartaria, and that Cambell will show here now. I will try to show that literally this area that we were told was unexplored, uninhabited, was nothing, just the Siberia and like the Orient, nothing. But in fact, it's actually labeled as Tartaria, and that the further back you go in maps, the bigger Tartaria was, and that there's all these lost cities and stuff mapped out in these areas that some of them, most of it's not even inhabited today. But when you go in and check it out on Google Earth, these same spots on these ancient maps, that there's these little castles, townships, settlements, you check it out on Google Earth, and sure enough, boom, there's a buried star fort with some ruins or a cathedral, and and these dried up. It's so weird because it's also in the Sahara from that time too. There's these same castles, and then all throughout like the Siberia, Eurasia, and also it goes down and across into North America, South America too, and lots of it, and at one point also the Europe too, right? Grand Tartaria right there. At this point in the map, China is different, Qin it says, but a lot of the time it's Oriental Tartaria, or China Tartaria is like
Cathay as well.
Yeah.
Is Tartaria again? I think we just saw that one, didn't we? Tartaria. So what's that? China regular. We got Tartaria up here.
And entire maps of an area of world labeled as like that is a map of Tartaria. Like the map makers of this time, the cartography, the amount of resources like that they claim, and the hardships to produce these. And yet, why would they be making it of this Tartaria if it didn't exist and wasn't something substantial, and that it's just been written out of? And then also in the what are the books called? The Britannicas, it's the encyclopedias of those times. The Tartaria was an official country with an official empire, with official flags, official all of these things. And then you see all these labeled cities on these rivers, these different areas throughout here. And like this right here, this map is actually kind of weak overall. Like you can find much more detailed, right? Like that
Yeah,
was
yeah,
just like
yeah,
a
yeah.
brief one of like the biggest
more.
areas. Yeah, that you can find way more in-depth ones with much more labeled onto it, right? Yeah, like
It's not the best to zoom in. I've just had to grab these today because I've kind of lost
exactly. This
lost
was
most of
a
my
random
stuff.
sampling. Like 5 minutes of Campbell lost everything when his hard drive crashed, and he just Googled it, and this is what we're just Googling Tartarian map. This is what you're gonna find. But like as you dive into it, it is a wormhole that will just blow your mind, because the further back in time you find the map, it's absolutely, the city is built as a star city, a star citadel city, and it's usually in an area labeled as Tartaria or a part of Tartaria that's fully mapped, or how much Tartaria truly encases.
Yeah, and yeah, exactly. So the further back you go, the bigger it was, and then it literally it just shrinks until it disappears. And now they try and say that Tartaria was just a region, right? But
tartar sauce, right?
the
Like
yeah, we have tartar sauce, tartaric acid,
or it's an Aryan, right? The Aryan nation wasn't Tartarian. They had to morph it and warp it into Aryan, when in fact it was a grand Tartarian ancient civilization, not this racist Aryan BS they spread, but the Tartarian. They had to put tar to it. You're just a fish sauce,
right? That add their black goo.
tar, or you're a racist Aryan.
Yeah, and look at all these cities, like all these are cities, right? And look at them. There's tons of them. They're everywhere. Of course, always on the water. And like Bernie said, when you get more detailed maps, that these cities are everywhere. And you look at maps from the 1500s, and everything is just completely built out. And the Sahara
Alaska.
used to be called
Alaska is always
oh yeah.
The first maps that Alaska appears on, it's always Tartary. It states.
Yeah, and it's also just huge in the old maps. Australia is kind of not there. There's just this big landmass. And I forgot what I was going to say, but yeah. So Tartars, yeah, they've wiped out. Yeah, and like Bernie said, the CIA. There's a CIA document that literally says, yes, we wiped out these people and blah blah blah, because this was all leading up to the Russian Revolution and that kind of era, where they literally were erasing cultures and bringing in the new order. Right, the new rule, and they were just taking over everything, installing their kings and queens, and we know that they love to install kings and queens. They don't want to be the kings and queens; they just want to install them, and then these people, though, they just whisper in the ears of the kings and queens, and they have power over them. And this is pretty much what happened. There was a catastrophe. People were sort of thrown around everywhere, didn't know what was going. It was kind of like a big MK Ultra, I guess. And then, the opportunists moved in and pretty much took over everything, disassembled, the old world and turned it into something that they could use against us. And, a couple of 100 years, here we find ourselves, and we're finding out that we don't even know what the past was. It just doesn't make sense when we look at it from a perspective of what we can see physically. It doesn't match up with all these stories in the books, right? And that's the other thing that we know, right? All these book burnings. We all know the Library of Alexandria, but it went through. We all know, World War II, they were doing it. They've been doing it the whole time, and they're just destroying the information.
Vatican Library, and why isn't it public and for everybody to interpret, see, and try to understand? And also, why aren't there these AI intelligence algorithms, right? Why haven't they built these linguistical ones to decipher all of these ancient pictographic languages, these Proto-Sumerian, these Proto-Sanskrit, the Proto-Greek, Hebrew, Aramaic, like the Babylonian, all of these Egyptian as well. The algorithms, if they program them, put them effort into, could instantly either verify or deny every single rune stone carving, Crespi tablet, the Burroughs Caves, the Idaho or Illinois caves. Another episode that me and Campbell did was called America Egypt, and we show a video of Harry Hubbard's Illinois cave and all of his discoveries, and it's almost identical to a lot of the stuff found in both the Burroughs caves as well as Father Crespi's collections in Golden Libraries. And I've gotten in touch with Harry Hubbard, and we're going to be doing an actual interview with him live coming up in a part 2.
Nice. And even back to the Book of Mormon, that was, gold tablets as well. It's this same theme. When you look at it from a helicopter view, right, from a broad perspective, you just see these same themes running through everything. But they say no, these people never met each other. They were completely different. I mean, there's literally a picture, and there's one's from Egypt and one's from Ecuador, and they are the same picture. That it's basically what it looks like one of the the Egyptian sort of pharaoh type people. Same picture, the same stuff found on opposite sides of the world. Supposedly by people that never ever had any contact, and these identical motifs and bits of art that are just the same, and this is what the buildings were. All these motifs, that was a language. I sort of mentioned that it was encoded with information. People could walk up and read that. So when you see like a gargoyle or something and it's spitting out water, that's saying don't drink this water. So you could go to any country and you'd know what these buildings did.
This is something we do need to discuss because of all the petroglyphs and stuff that you're finding and whatnot, that in fact, and like some of the Sapphire projects work showing like the different plasma glyphs and stuff too. But when I've now been deciphering and going in deep and researching, looking at this ancient alchemy pictographic language, it's in fact including a lot of those same petroglyphs that you're using, and it's actually this higher dimensional like frequency energy language of both creation and design. And I highly recommend people check out it's called like the 3 principle. I'll just grab it actually to give you a much better idea. But if you take an electrical engineering or physics and stuff at all and chemistry, then when you find the old alchemy, the 3 principles, so that you have
just pausing it here to actually I guess it should be on largest, give a better description. On the far top left, you have 3 symbols, the sulfur, salt, and mercury. And in my electrolysis alchemy monoatomics decipherment, what I've come to understand is that these symbols are actually high level degree physics and cold fusion, electricity and chemistry, and cold fusion in general. The sulfur being your anode or your cathode out, the current going out of your electrolysis reaction. The salt being that easy zone, the exclusion zone water. The salt water, when you plug it in, it creates like this, you see the circle with the line in it. It kind of looks like a Pokemon ball. But in a lot of my electrolysis experiments, I demonstrate that the water actually separates into this 2 different zones, one full of one type of particle, the other full of a separate type of particle, and then this line is between the 2 that has nothing in it at all. Jared Pollack's work on the exclusion zone and all of that science, the 4th state of water. It was actually a topic on one of the presentations during the Apex stream today earlier, and it's a huge part of my science and understanding the alchemy that is electrolysis cold fusion. And then the mercury, is the anode side, the second side of the electrolysis process. And then on the top right, I will now play the video where I describe what this is and how it's actually the 4 states of matter and the entire periodic table of elements. And what I did not display in that presentation and what we have up right now is the actual alchemical table and its pictographic language of these symbols. And this is the oldest language on Earth, like recorded throughout history in across all of these civilizations and ruins. And if you've taken any sort of physics, electrical engineering, anything of the sort, and then you start looking at what these pictograms really are, it is a higher dimensional, what is the correct word that I call it? Vector base. So it's a force vector graph, essentially your cross, right? Your X, Y, Z axis, or and that it's magnetism, electricity, and the creation of particles and breakdown of atoms. That is the periodic table of elements, and the shapes, the pictograms, these symbols that represent each element, they actually break down and describe and explain this layout of the same element periodic table. This is Walter Russell's vortex-based periodic table graph right here, and it's through the octave scale of element creation and weight and size and shape, crystal formation, and that this ancient pictographic language of these alchemy symbols connected between this information is one massive language of, I don't know, maybe you'd call it the God particle, or like just universal structure. And I know I'm getting pretty advanced here and you probably have no idea what the heck I'm talking about. Some might be following along.
What the heck are you talking about, Bernie?
Right? Well, do you have any questions so far of what I'm saying? Does it kind of make sense, Campbell, to everything I've gone over the years with you so far? Or...
Yeah, it does to me.
So,
anyone got any questions?
This the bottom now, the planets and metals. So this is another really, really big thing that connects essentially metaphysics, astrology, alchemy, and real science. And it's where you get into the woo-woo, but it's how the ancients actually interpreted the workings of the universe and the science, and it connects into not just astrology, but numerology. And this is the deep alchemy aspect of it, the planets and metals. So in the center there you have gold, right? It's and it is the sun, and it's also a dot with a circle around it, which represents an electron field, or your right hand rule in electricity. And what is the sun but like the driving force on our like solar or galactic scale, and also of energy coming in. So I find that extremely fascinating. And it's also the cycles of these heavenly bodies, like the sun, which is gold, and the moon, which is silver. And the silver, the moon, it appears on this chart on the very bottom left, and it's just a sliver. It's in its, what is that, the waning or the waxed, I'm not sure either, but the very least amount of it in that sliver of it.
It's both. I think waning's going away and waxing's coming back.
Exactly. So it's the one where it's going away before it's coming back in it. And this lunar cycle is so fascinating. And when I've had some of these electrolysis reactions set up running for multiple months at a time, and especially making monoatomic silver in the past, the silver on silver cathode and anode. It was during a supermoon event that year, where it was the full moon, and I noticed that the entire bucket that I had these 2 silver coins going into the water had exploded full of this monoatomic silver during this during the supermoon event. And then I also after I harvested a whole bunch of it and kept producing it during the event, and then it kind of kept going decently steady over the next couple of days, but then kept decreasing, and then started paying attention, and then sure enough, it noticed that the rate of production, or the amount, would correlate specifically with the stage of the moon. And when it was waxed and waning, there was barely any harvestable amount of monoatomic silver at all. And when there was the full moons, there was plentiful, and that's when you collect it and make it. And then I tested with the Alien Scientist channel and Falcon Space and Jeremiah a couple of months back now during the last full eclipse. They were running some experiments like bismuth silvers and the crystallization under the eclipse, and I ran the same silver reaction, and I predicted that during this eclipse that it wouldn't make any. And I also, the night before, as a control, ran the experiment, and it was making a bunch of it because it was almost the full moon, so it's at the peak of the monthly cycle. And then I ran it from as I think I got into the psych stream and started it right at the peak of the eclipse. So it was already completely cut off at that point, and I ran it for about an hour, and nothing was produced at all during that stream. And it seems to confirm it again, and that literally this element silver that the alchemists have claimed that the moon is, the physical production rate can be measured on the accordance to the cycle of the moon. So
and the same would happen for gold, no doubt, if you were tracking the cycles of the sun.
Right.
And we see these symbols on the top of all the domes, of course. But this is really, we hear the physicists and the scientists talking about they're trying to find, the theory of everything. But what they're really doing is they're trying to say, this is how we see it, and we're going to try and make it make sense, because they can't meld the micro.
Right, because it has to be everything at all, because modern science, whatever, it's we have understanding, think of maybe it's closer to 2% of the everything in the explainable universe sort of thing. It's 99% is dark matter, or it's the ether, or it's the unknown, but you have to take it chunk by chunk, and each chunk is this quantum woo-woo of anything you could possibly imagine. It's existing in this multiverse, of whatever.
Alchemy's already done it. Alchemy's saying, the sun is the same as a symbol, which is the same as a frequency, which is the same as a fractal, which is the same as a cymatic, which is the same as geometry, which is the same as a color. It's already there. It's already been done.
Exactly.
The theory of everything, right? Everything is connected. It's just, and all we're seeing is the same frequencies, just in different expressions, right? Gold is the same frequency as the sun, obviously, which is the same frequency as yellow, which is the same. It would have a harmonic, and it would have a,
exactly.
a climatic.
The chakras apparently are colors, and then there's these specific harmonic Hertzian frequencies that are given to the chakras. And then I checked, and they're also the solfeggio frequencies. And then I've asked, and some people have claimed that in fact that is the same frequency light wave as those colors, and the frequency matches the color as the chakra wave. Nice. And if this is the case, then it's that is each solfeggio is a color, and then it's each solfeggio is a chakra energy point into the conscious life energy. And also,
if you have a look up for the cymatic of the sun, have you seen that? And I think they literally somehow tune into the the frequencies it's giving off. It looks exactly like that symbol for the sun. It's just yellow with radiating lines and a hot dot in the circle, which looks like the sun itself, right? So everything, that's what it is. Cymatics is looking at sound, seeing sound, right? And that sound also has a color and has a, you know, all these different things, has a feeling even.
Indeed, right? And it's like that, so the feeling, you can like feel it by hearing it, feeling it by seeing it, feeling it by physically touching it, or you can feel it in the soul by it resonating. And when something resonates, you know, you're feeling it in the gut, or like you're seeing it in your mind, or you're hearing it, or, you know, like all
Because
these things. That's
we
your
see
higher
things,
consciousness.
we're seeing things in backwards. Like when we see, we're not, that's not out in front of us. What we see is actually, you know, physically in this realm, it's not out in front of us. It's inside of our brain. That's where that picture is formed and where it comes from. It's inside of our brain. It's not outside of us. So frequency starts inside us and then goes out. It's not the other way around, right?
Well, it's both. It's the dipole. It's the duality, right?
We interpret it, and then it turns into sound or speech or color and all these different things. But it's just one frequency,
right? And
if that makes
so
sense.
also
how's everyone going out there?
And this is a very good question, Uso, and it's kind of why I haven't been prioritizing or rushing to publish Apex quite yet with my channel not having issues and all of that. But it's that I've asked him a few times about it. He said yes, but then it's never materialized, and it's like, come on, dude, like what the F? And anywho, and also some other awesome like prospects that I've sent him on like actual anti-gravitic propulsions, and he hasn't gotten back to me on any of it. So I don't know, maybe others have to request it. I'm trying, but yeah.
So here, I guess you're saying, is that the same as auras? And yeah, so if you take a picture of someone's aura, which you can do with Krillian photography, if they're angry, they will come out and the aura will be red, which is a low, but it's obviously our lowest chakra
333
color.
it says watching right now. Sorry, I had to just cut into that
322.
Right at that moment, it was 333, then it jumped up to 341, now 340. Anywho, that said that.
I mean, these numbers as well, man, they're jumping by 20 and 30. They're just going up and down, like from 340 to like 299, back up to 330.
Right?
Like, it's very strange. Nothing sus, right? Nothing sus. All right, we'll stop talking now.
So the last little part of this lesson, this advanced alchemy that I'm giving right now, is so now that you see essentially the gold, that full circle with the dot in the middle, that's like at your supermoon or your sun at noon, or you know, the full moon or the sun at noon, or when the moon is like at its least waxing, or the planets are at its least, or when the sun is on the opposite side of like winter or summer, as well as day or night, and that you're plotting these on a vector graph. That's what the cross is. The cross is a vector graph, and then these what looks like a sickle is in fact the phases of these heavenly bodies across that vector graph of time, of where they're appearing on the horizon and around us. And just that these heavenly bodies, the sun, the moon, the planets, whatever they are, however far they are from us, it's that they have the most physical mass and forces and like interactions with our own plane of existence and physics and energies than any other physical things that we can see or measure, and that there's a lot more to it. The ancients seem to understand it, and there's a whole lost language and higher technology of it that are explained in just these simple 3 sets of symbols right here, as well as this entire language of all the elements and physical matter, chemistry, atomics, and fusion, fission, the rest of it. And now I will finally get back to it at this point where I'm going to explain what those triangles are, plus the elements, what we've all heard of before,
So we're
but
just gonna
a little
so
bit
now
more
we get to
science
hear Bernie
behind it.
explain it again, guys. Oh, we've lost it.
Oop, oop, oop,
That was the wrong button.
no.
Oh,
Wrong
oh,
one,
there
wrong
we
one.
go.
There we go. And so, no. Okay, I'm just explaining the top right part. That's the part I have not explained so far today.
All right, here we go.
Of fire, which is actually plasma, the fourth state of matter that we're only now just starting to understand. Earth, your solid state, your third state. Water, your liquid, your second state. And air, your gas, your one molecule, first state. And then plus the elements, well, that's the periodic table of elements in their four states of matter, and that their pictographic language, they actually have these same petroglyphic shapes. They're the same letters, the same shapes as these alchemy language and the periodic table, and that it actually is just this vector based or force vector based language of the interactions of these different materials and elements and the energies of magnetism, electricity, and everything between them, and then the heavenly bodies above that the alchemists labeled as different elements, gold, silver, copper, mercury, all your power metals and your electromagnetism metals. And the sun, that's the gold. They put gold, your highest conductor, as well as that is like your right hand rule for electricity going through. That's your sun, that's your power. That is the right hand rule as the gold. And then, this is a grid, the cross. Well, that's where in your vector graph that the heavenly body, whether it's the force of Mercury or gold or silver being the moon, second most, and then like copper, iron, and that where they are in that grid, and is it waxing or waning? Is the power of it increasing or decreasing in it? And it's just
we see those symbols.
For a whole nother stream and day, but
but just as they're on the top of all the domes, those symbols, they're everywhere,
right?
And of course the domes are made from things like copper, gold, and silver. So this is sort of the other thing. It all sort of seems to tie in. But I need to run to the toilet quickly. So you want to run that video?
I'll play the clip there.
I'll be back in 1 second.
No worries, brother. So what I was gonna say with the elements, oh my gosh, what the frick was the part of it? Brain fart, the last part of the alchemy. Okay, it is the alchemy, the pictographic language of alchemy itself. And it's the oldest existing written language across human civilizations. You can find it in these Babylonian texts, the Sumerian texts, the Sanskrit texts, like the Vedas, the Assyrians, the Egyptians, all the way up to the modern day Jesuit orders, the Freemasons. They still use the same alchemy language, and that it's a higher dimensional science, mathematic, universal code, that this is a language that pretty much starts or predates essentially the human farming, villaging, or starting of civilization. It's appeared from the very beginning of written civilization everywhere, and that it's continued the exact usage throughout all of history up until this same time, and that it's hidden, it's occulted. And if you don't fully grasp, comprehend, or perceive the significance of what I'm explaining, it's that think of how much just modern day English, or American English compared to Canadian English, compared to UK English, compared to Aussie English, compared to Old English, compared to Latin, compared to French, compared to Spanish, Portuguese, Russian, the Slavic, all these different languages, okay? And also, you know, compared to Cantonese or Japanese, Korean, some of the languages still pictographic written languages and spoken languages, but just as well as Hebrew and Aramaic and Arabic, there's that the further back linguistically you go and deeper into these pictographic languages, the symbol languages, the Egyptian, ancient Egyptian, and that a symbol has, you know, a picture is worth 1,000 words. So a symbol language, a picture graphic symbol language is 1,000 times more complex in each letter than the current alphabet and language that we've devolved back down into to today. And that this super highly advanced pictographic written language and also spoken language in the most ancient of times has survived and not changed at all throughout all of human recordings, civilizations, artifacts across time and space on this realm, up until even in your most up-to-date, just published horror films influenced and written by you know, the pop Hollywood slash power that be slash structure and societies that still use it, including within the churches or organizations or societies within the organization of the larger church or religious structures. Anywho, enough about that little rant on pictographic languages and how there should be an AI algorithms on these linguistics that would instantly tell you what's real, what's not, and make understandings of all of lost things. Back to the Great Wall of Tartaria that originally Olaf the Sverker, shout out to you, brother, out of Scotland, a Scottish, he's an interesting fellow if you find Olaf on YouTube, because he is of Russian parents and descent and fluent speaker and of Russian, but born and raised and living in Scotland. So it's a mix of hard, awesome Scottish accent and Russian English. But he is who has been able to decipher all of these Russian Tartarian sites throughout the Eastern Europe. And this is me and Cambell's working on of it right here. This is the Dnieper River right here. And each one of these is a star fort along the Great Wall of Tartaria.
Very what? Three countries. So that's, I guess that's Russia there. I mean, that's
yeah,
a
we
bit,
just
just
didn't
that
even
bit
make it all the way through Ukraine. We didn't even make it to the Russian border. We're not even through the Russian border. And we started at the Dnieper River. And we also started at the Dnieper.
Was that you talking now, or was that it talking?
No, I don't know what happened then. I wasn't saying. I don't know. I was checking to make sure I wasn't playing the video.
Oh, it was the video of a video within a video. That's a third generation video now. That's why. That's what happened there.
Into the Matrix, man.
So the Brucey bonus at the end for everyone will be some more Great Wall of Tartaria special. We'll play a little bit more Olaf Sverker Great Wall episode there, and then we will also plan one of the Tuesday morning, Monday night alternative history reviews that me and Campbell do, to do a part 3 of us going on Google Earth and further mapping the Great Wall of Tartaria. And Olaf, I know you possibly might be watching this at some point, and I've been hassling your Instagram, and you said you are. Give me time, my man, and let's make it happen and have you on here for an even more in-depth episode of the Great Wall of Tartaria. Hip shake if you got Olaf's channel to share. You are by far the best mod out there, or Callum if you're a wizard that's challenging her. Love you all. Back to playing the clip or the video.
Dnieper River, and then it goes all the way south and connects to the Black Sea. So we only started in the middle and like didn't even get through the first country that this Great Wall goes through.
Wow. All right, so it wasn't here, was it? On the other, this one.
That one right there, yeah, you got it.
So this looks, you can see just from above, very Starfordy looking. When we get down in here, it's now, they've just mined the whole thing out.
And like, how many years of quarrying is this just to destroy one of these citadels? Not build it, but to destroy it.
Exactly, like they've turned into like a whole industrial area, like running on just destroying it. Like,
oh, and then like zoom out. Remember,
so
next to the steps on this river and this coastline of the Dnieper here. Look at how straight it is. It's a complete built, ancient, like man-made coastline or river line along that. Like, look at that. That is perfect megalithic structures along this entire coast that is now being quarried out.
And it just looks like man-made steps or something along there. But look how straight it is. And then down here, look at this. How straight this is this is to the sea. It's deep in the heart of what we see as Tartaria on the old maps.
Exactly. Like on the wall of Tartaria, I guess, essentially.
Yeah, it's definitely part of it. And all this is.
This is not a stand mixer.
Now you can see that we're not just actual full-out starport in the middle of nowhere along a giant wall.
Yep, and here is the giant wall. Again, another massive bastion. One along here, across here, and there's another star. See, it's been a bit very.
I paused it just to interject. It's so choppy because this was one of the first ones me and Campbell did, again, starting a couple months ago. But we used Restream, and it was just a horrible lag connection between the two of us. So I apologize. And our Great Wall of Tartaria 2 episode will be much, much better than this. And shout out to Olaf Severker, the Brucey bonus. We'll play a little Paul Cook at the end too, but
you can always turn the volume down, Burn, and just play it, and might come out better.
And
like
wall keeps going.
I'm not sure in the middle of nowhere, and they're every couple kilometers along this wall across 2 countries, from the Black Sea, the belly of Eurasia, to the North Tartarian Sea, the North Siberian Arctic Ocean.
And looks like keeps going. You can see another bastion there. And again, like these random things that you see just in the middle of fields, like this round bit here.
And it showed that it was excavated out. And then it was like they were taking it apart, and it was now a giant, massive, like a stone mine or what's the right word?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, this, I don't know if they've put this water in, but you can see the wall goes straight through.
Quarried right out. Yeah, like, right? And more of the bastions along the wall.
Yeah. So it looks like this is the wall here.
Just keeps going over and over.
Okay, we lost it. And forward. Oh, okay, there's another star. Look at that.
Another perfect star right there, still in. Yeah, there's the wall above it. Okay, yeah, above the town. There we go.
There's another one. The wall's coming, star down here. God, it looks like they destroyed. And you can just see these bastions the whole way along it. Look at this thing, it just keeps going.
It's non-stop. It's literally a wall across the continent that's not described or mentioned anywhere in history. Yet is literally the division of the active war zone today, pretty much.
Yeah. So it looks like it goes this way. Yeah, there's another big bastion. Another one there. And here we just huge, just keeps going. Another bastion. Now here. Now what do we think? This way, there we go, there's a star.
Another star.
Here, another star.
Another star.
Bastions. You can see it there again. And this one, look, you can see it underneath the field. You can kind of see that it goes across there. Oops. And then it pops out on the other side.
That's another star. Another round star right there. By the deniper there.
Hey, all right. Are we back?
Yes, we are back. So I'm going to pause it right there. And hopefully people were able to see there that that's the exact same wall, exact same geometry, like probably inch for inch of the design and what was like Wall Street, the wall that was on Wall Street.
Yeah.
Is Amsterdam, the wall that is absolutely every single one of these Starfort cities. And that you can go in both check out our original Great Wall of Tartaria 2-hour stream on AutoDidactic's channel, as well as Olaf the Svirker on his YouTube channel. He's got a couple even more in-depth videos of both going through from the Black Sea and Crimea area of Ukraine up the Dnieper, and then from the Dnieper there across all the way east, northeast through all of Ukraine. And then he's got a second episode that he then continues it. And anybody can do this through Google Earth. And what the last part that I was sharing there, that was all of those markers Campbell put in. Me and Campbell spent several hours just watching Olaf's video and then going in through our own Google Earth and pinning each one of the Starfort reference points. So this wall literally goes from the Black Sea, which is, the oh my goodness, connected right by like the Mediterranean. It's basically right by the Mediterranean there, all the way up across all of Eurasia, northeastern Eurasia essentially, and into the what's now the Russian Arctic Ocean, but in the ancient maps that we're showing, I can't even show you, it's the actual Sea of Tartaria, or what always in Latin, something, but Sea of Tartaria.
Tartaria septamine or whatever they call it. But yeah. And that's the thing, we've marked a lot of them up in Russia as well. So we've got these 2 points and we've just got to go through the middle basically. But you can see these things, they're just everywhere, It's like we said, that you find these stars and canals and old cities in Russia, and you find them in Poland, but then you find them in Scotland, and then you find them in Libya, and then you find them in Australia, and then you find them in the US and Canada. It's all the same stuff, but the story they give us, you know.
There's one identical of these battery star forts, that big 4-petaled one, that main one that, and I do encourage people to go check out our Great Wall of Tartaria episodes, because there's literally hundreds of these, one every kilometer or two, buried across the thousands of kilometer line wall that it is. It's exponentially bigger than the Great Wall of China. There's no history of it, no construction date of it. And literally it's those same wall bastions that Wall Street itself is the shape of it, former, and the foundation. And every kilometer or two, one of those star forts either buried or still semi-existing, and half of them don't even have official construction date stories or origins. They're in like farmers' fields, all sorts of stuff. And you can like the LiDAR imaging to it, and you'll always find that there's like these mass substructures underneath and caves within most of them, and all sorts of like buried world stuff. Just not.
It's like the stuff in that we just looked at, none of that has any story at all. There's no explanation at all for it. And there's a wall that's,
it's not his story, it's still the mystery to make our own mystery. Don't
my story.
Look into the Tartarian.
Indeed. And there's a wall in India that I think is bigger or about the same size as the Great Wall of China. They've also got a Sphinx. And Quebec's still got the wall there. It's like in the city, there's a wall around Quebec. It's Quebec, isn't it? The one that we looked at the other day. I haven't got the right city.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Quebec City, and then it also goes.
And that's got a massive star built into the wall.
Entire area there. Yeah, it's there. Still Citadel, Star City areas, and these canals and all of it. It's crazy.
Just exactly what they tell us was all through Europe. But I mean, it's a fully, like, Quebec's just a full old world city. You know, it's got stars and castles and everything in it. And again, you know, it's a new country.
I've been lucky enough to go to Montreal 5 times so far in my life. Back when I was younger, I had a cheap free flight thingy. But what always astounded me, getting a ride in from the airport and then into like the downtown island, you'd pass all of the cathedrals, and there's like hundreds of them, and they're towering everywhere in like this built out old city on this island, which is probably all reclaimed artificial island, like more Starfort, like, you know, looking back into it. And it's
been there all the time. We just haven't noticed it. And like that's what I noticed in Melbourne, like the juxtaposition of these old world massive cathedrals, and they're just surrounded by these, you know, black or mirror boxes. You know, it's like, it gives you that real sense of, you know, like, you know, the black box, right? Just coming in and trying to eat the old world. It's because they're so big and tall and looming down. And this is what's going on. You know, they can't recreate that stuff, so they're trying to rebuild, you know, civilization, or, you know, the cult of their culture into something that's theirs, because they literally want to be gods. That's what this is all about. They want to be gods on earth. And so they can't, you know, they need to build their own creation and get us to believe it's reality. And then, you know, hey presto, they think that they're our gods.
Negative. Take your sovereignty back, right? Be your own builder, manifest your own reality, be your own creator, and creator for good, and builder. And so I'm gonna, Rex gonna come back and join us here shortly, but I was gonna play a couple-minute clip of our Is North America Egypt clip quickly before then, if that's all right. And this is the Harry Hubbard collection, Rex. If you've not heard of him before, the Illinois Caves, and it's almost identical to like the Father Crespi collection, or also the, what was it, the Inca stones or something? Ica stones, the Ica stones. And then I think it's different than the Burroughs Cave. It's not, or there's just
and there's other, you know, there's other reports of these things being found, you know, in Europe and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Europe, underneath Egypt, even like through Asia. They're just it's everywhere.
Yeah, and of course it's all false, right? Because that's what people would do. They'd spend years like making these things, researching to make sure that there was some kind of link. And somehow they, some of these, they do them and they end up as a decipherable thing, but it's just, it's just a fault, it's just a scam. And of course, none of them can ever make any money off it. Right. And then all these books they tell us are false, like, why would you do that? Why wouldn't you just write it as a fiction and make money off it? Why would you try and say, no, it's true, it's true, it's true, and be made to look like a fool? This whole story of, people produce these fake things, it's the dumbest thing. When you really start to think about it, it's dumb. It doesn't make sense.
And so, but my favorite part, and why I was stressing so much about that linguistical AI algorithms and stuff, is that and Rex, this is another crucial part. If in the future, when we have Harry Hubbard on, if you can, he's I think done some work with Scott Wolter, but maybe also have.
This is Harry Hubbard's
Harry said that Scott
Illinois caves that we're showing right now.
The fact that the claims that the forgers themselves, these shisty people with no morals sort of thing, yet are able to somehow pick up, learn these lost languages, write these false fake stories so accurately and like in the absolute perfect grammar of the supposed minute time era that they're claimed to be forged from, that lots of times like this is the second or first like historical case of that exact time frames written record of it sort of thing, that it's like
you hear it all the time, like they deciphered it and then they found out that it was wrong. Well, if it was wrong, how did you decipher it? If it's made up, that you don't decipher just random letters put together or random shapes. And another thing to keep in mind is all these shapes, right? I mean, we're heading back there. I mean, look at your computer screen, right? What's all over that? These little shapes, little icons. And those little icons mean a lot more than just, like a blue square with an F. It doesn't just mean an F in a blue square. It means all this stuff, right? All this information is related to that. And that's what these old symbolic languages were. They had so much information encoded in them. And of course, that's something that, everyone that we hear about who's deciphering them, they don't really go into that. They try and read them as we read our alphabet, like their letters and things. And so we don't even really have the true, meanings of these things yet.
Right.
But, I mean, same stuff, right?
And like, look at this. This is like ancient, like runic and like ancient Greek, ancient Slavic. Like it's all of these languages, like each carving, each one of them, like whether it's Crespi, Burroughs, this Illinois, or anywhere else, it's that there's usually a collection that represents like one of ancient Greek, a few like runic, a few Sumerian, like a multitude of each of these extinct languages in these different like collections. So it's like, how did all of these separate different supposed forgers, each of them all learn 10 lost languages all on their own to then be able to act, like it's just the complexity and ridiculousness of these claims.
Well, I mean, that's another good point, right? The truth is simple. So, I mean, imagine this as an alternate scenario, right? That you've got this civilization that spans the world. They have one language, and of course, we're told, in some books that language is confounded, right? So they've all got the same symbols, the same architecture, all connected to the same grid, and then there's a catastrophe, right? And the grid gets broken, and they all lose contact with each other. And so over a couple of generations, you end up with these people that are all separated, but they all have the same history, right? The same buildings, the same languages, the same symbols and logos and motifs, because that's what we see, right? But they're trying to say, no, that's not the story. This was all just random, that they just randomly all came up with the same stuff at the same time. So, I mean, what makes more sense to you? I mean, this is the thing. Look, with all their stories, they're just so convoluted, but they have to be to confuse us. So in the end, you just go, oh, well, the experts say this,
Right? Like, why, and half of them being on like these gold tablets and like silver, but lots of them are on gold. And it's like, if people are forging like these, there's going to be desperate and broke. They're not going to have the resources to like go acquire this mass amount of gold and then smelt it down into these forgeries,
The ingots and stuff. Yeah.
extinct languages that they've learned to be able to write these in-depth stories in extinct dialects that nobody like, you know, except for like, oh my, it's just.
And even these carvings on the rock, a lot of this rock is dolerite,
right? Yeah, and
which
like,
is extremely hard.
Yeah, and same with like the granites, all sorts, right? Like
it's not like they, you know, we don't find these on sandstone, right? And on the easy stuff. It's like, and that's something about the old world. The way we look at it, it looks like they do everything the hardest way possible, right? But I mean, obviously to them,
it was all manual labor with
exactly. From our point of view, obviously to them, it would be easy because that's the way that people work, right? You don't do things that are hard. You don't make buildings that are too big.
Aztec, Mayan kind of like crossover, right?
That's a good one, yeah, because it's got like the Mayan sort of necklace, or
yeah, right? That's not like
in a Roman nose.
Like, you know, like this pre-cataclysm civilization, like, was this from like the time of Atlantis's, and then, you know, there was like the remnants afterwards, that there could have been this grand Atlantean Lemurian before the Younger Dryas collapse.
Bernie, you got the Muppet in the background again.
Oh, you've turned into Kermit the Frog. Oh no. I'll talk. Yeah. I mean, there could definitely be a pre, you know, like, I mean, no doubt there was, but I think we're in like, what do they say, the 4th or the 7th Kali Yuga? Is that right? The 7th world? You know, so that there's been, you know,
yeah, like depending on, right, there's many of them.
So I mean, I'd say that there was that as well, you know, like a flood type scenario where people were dispersed and they sort of went across and found these civilizations that had been, you know, dispersed earlier, and to them they look like the gods because they still had the technology, right? Which is, you know, the power of God.
Exactly.
Here's some more ruins. That's what we're about. But the thing about this, you know, this sort of topic of research is, you know, it's fun, right? Like, you know, in this community, as far as, you know, like research or, you know, whatever truthers, conspiracy theorists, whatever label you want to put on it, you know, most of it's so you know, bad. Now there's all these dark holes to go down, and oh my God, they're doing this to us, and they're doing this, and look how long they've been doing this, and look what they do, and it's not very uplifting. But with this topic, we're looking at what used to be, so we're also looking at what could be again, right? It's inspiring. Because it makes people want to, you know, bring that back, right? Want to become the kind of people that you need to be to have that kind of society, which is the biggest thing. You know, we need to, you know, for this new world that everyone, you know, wants, we actually need to become the right kind of people to one, find it, but two, to actually stay in that frequency, you know, and so that's what this topic does. It's wonder, right? We see all these amazing things, and it gets your imagination going, and you wonder, and it's like, that, you know, we can do that again, right? We look how, you know, look what we did, look how smart we were, and it's just so much more fun, right, than looking at, you know, oh my God, look what they're doing, look what they're doing in the tunnels, look what they're doing with the young people, look at the, you know, banking, look at this, you know. Instead, we're trying to put our focus on, look how amazing all this stuff was. Now let's use it to go forward, right? How do we use this information to make the world, you know, more like that, but, you know, or better, right? So it's really used as a leap from the old world to the new world. It really is, because so much research is dragging that old world with us as we try and go forward, right? We're trying to go forward, but everything's, you know, so expensive in petrol. Trying to go forward, but what are they doing to the kids and that? And, you know, that's all, you know, bad stuff, obviously, but, you know, we know that whatever you focus on grows. So if we start focusing on what we want and building a better world, then that, all that crap that we don't want will fall away. They'll lose their power. They'll lose, you know, all this kind of stuff. So Yeah, that's my little spiel. Research Tartaria, AutoDidactic channel, and many others. And what's yours? Crypto Alchemist now? You're on about your 50th channel because they keep getting axed.
No, BurnEye, the mind's third eye, science guy. Keyword just YouTube search BURNEYE, and that will come up with lots of my old streams on both LeakProject as well as AutoDidactic 1 and 2 channels from my previously before they deleted Crypto Alchemist and Bernard Conkin channels, and my new BurnEye third YouTube channel. And this one here, our
Moscow.
most recent stream that we did.
Hey, Campbell, can you hear the toad again?
No, it sounds right to me.
Because I can sure hear the toad,
Okay,
man.
I'm gonna
What do you
just
do?
quickly.
I paused it there again. Just a question. We should almost make a questionnaire, but whatever. I paused it instead. Put a toad in the live chat if anybody at any point heard some noise like that sounded like a toad or a frog throughout the recording tonight, because apparently Rex had kept hearing one last night, but I don't think I've heard any. And Campbell, you said you hadn't either, hey?
Not toad free.
Toad free. Maybe Rex might have accidentally licked a toad down by the river at his new house last night. Quite a nice place, but
what is Rexy on? Casting aspersions there, old Burn.
or since he's in the U.S., you never know what the NSA might be playing on him, right? Like,
Just don't know, right? Yeah,
just
could have been
Oh, we
licking
did hear
toads,
a toad.
racing around.
Some people heard some toads, so who knows? No toads
Exactly.
here. Some had a toad. All right, back to I think this is the last. We got 15 minutes of it left, and then a Brucey bonus. Love you all.
What did you do different?
I'm sharing.
It seems to be when you shared your screen.
Yeah, there. Is it better now? I stopped sharing?
No, it's not. Every time you talk, it does it. It doesn't do it when Campbell's talking. It only does it when you talk.
He is Canadian. Maybe it's just his accent.
Nice.
All right. Well, you go and fix something, Bernie. What were you talking about? So he was just showing. What were you showing? Moscow. Yeah, I mean, and this is the thing. If you go onto Google Earth today, you'll see all these cities, and they've all got the same. When you really start to look at them, they've all got the same features. They've all got the canals. They've all got the big cathedrals. They also have like these islands in them, and it's just this. And then, of course, you'll find the stars and the star forts, and it's still there. Like, we can still find all this stuff. So I do encourage you to, get out there and have a look, and more than that, have a look what's in your own backyard, right? What's in your town and city, ruins, but also, get off the beaten track, because we've got so many gatekeepers, right? We have, obviously, the books and the libraries and the archaeologists, and the ones that we think of, but what about national parks, right? And park rangers, and because even if you're allowed in the national park, they always give you one little path, right, to follow. And pretty much 100% of people will stay on that path. But we have this saying, right? Get off the beaten path. So if you get off and have a look, you'll be amazed. There's walls and stuff just sticking out just in the middle of nowhere, and, pillars and all this stuff, and creeks that have all these, little levees and things in them. And there's no explanation for any of it. It's just in the middle of nowhere. So get out and have a look. And this we have Medicine Hat Indian Man. Okay, talk, Bernie. Do you want to talk? Let's see. No, he's muted himself.
I got the toad, so I'm afraid.
You got the toad still? All right, I'll talk.
So yeah, just did wrapping up. This is another one with the geoglyphs and Faram, and that I'm gonna check out by my do a meetup in Alberta and actually go down with a group of people to explore these Medicine Hat Badland guardians and the geoglyphs there. And it's only within 100 kilometers from where I live in Calgary, Alberta. They also have those big stone balls there, supposedly. So take a drone up, try to find some balls, try to find some megalithic geoglyphs, and try to get some confirmation from above aerial footage of these fantastic earthworks and indigenous faces.
Dude. All right. Is his speech a bit better there, Rex? Right, Rex is gone. And this is not an ear pod. That's actually a road.
I'm here and it's better.
Oh, you're there. Awesome. So this is an aerial shot. This is like a mountain range kind of thing, right? But it's an aerial shot, and you can see clearly that this face. And then there was another one that looks like a Viking. And these things, these shot towers and towers that are everywhere, you know, what are they all? So there's just so many questions. And I mean, we've just sort of touched on, you know, it's a bit of an entry point, but there's so many directions that this topic goes in. You know, it goes out into free energy, into, you know, transport, like airships and trams and train lines and excuse me, geoglyphs, all these hidden, you know, tablets that they find, like lower layers, you know, tunnels, underground levels. It's really just looking at the whole, you know, world that we've been told and looking at it differently and finding out that it's different. You're allowed to talk now, Bernie. Apparently Kermit has left the building.
Nice. I guess we've been going 2.5 hours now, for close to, probably a good time to wrap things up. Rex, did you have any last questions or anything about
No, but I was super impressed and I would like to do this again. And I got to say, both you guys have been awesome. So I really appreciate it. The toad was annoying, but he just jumped in there a few times. So no big deal. And I'm looking forward to studying this more. This is one of the few topics that when it comes to ancient civilizations that I haven't really studied that much. And I think you're bringing some incredible information to the table, and I'm looking forward to next time. So thank you both. And
awesome. Thank
let's
you.
do this again. Yeah.
Definitely. And next time, maybe we can, you know, sort of pick a more specific topic and go down that road, because it just tends to be a lot if we don't do that. It's like a bit of a brain splat. But thank you for having us, Rex. And yes, thank you everyone in chat.
Awesome. This is so cool. Well, thank you everybody for being here with us. Make sure to subscribe to BurnEye's and Cambell's YouTube channels and AutoDidactic.
There we go.
Hello.
So that concludes our last night's stream with Rex. I'm sure I'll have Campbell back on there on another Friday again.
Who donated? Angela Antoniou. Oh my God! Thank you so much for your.
Oh wow! I didn't even see that.
Saw that. Thank you very much. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
I hope I haven't missed anyone else. Gosh.
There was a few tonight, so everybody that has, thank you so much for helping Campbell out. And that was a really epic episode that Rex is still editing some and going to release on his channels. And Campbell, you have to download it and then pass it on to you. And you're planning on doing some editing out of it right away too. And then we're gonna the science of sound ones. There's some awesome topics that we're gonna have going here, and the next one maybe I'll probably even try to do next Friday or Saturday for the science of sound episode 5, and then the 6th one maybe within 2 or 3 weeks of that, because there's just so much of it, and Ominous is ready for it as well. So.
Ominous. All right, cool. We need to get Paul on too at the same time. Sometime.
Yeah.
With his LiDAR, man. How are you doing that? We want LiDAR access.
Yeah, and actually Amber's helped me looking into it. There's a couple free ones, but we haven't downloaded any yet, just because it's like you're giving them a lot of access with the app for the thing. So we really want to get Paul on and see what he's using. Yeah, it's weird. Like, well, a lot of them were through these marine app.
Like
download.
phone apps sort of thing. Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, so I'm actually gonna email once the stream is fully done. I'm gonna email Paul Cook as well as Michelle Gibson. We'll get them back on the Mondays here, as well as Harry Hubbard for the Egypt Part 2 and Olaf the Sverker for the Great Wall of Tartaria episode 2.2 or episode 3. There's gonna be a few of them. And the first one's really good, except that it was that restream. That's how really the sound cut out a lot.
Yeah, there's something wrong with it. I recorded some videos on it and I couldn't use them. I just thought it was. So yeah, we've gone back to what are we on? StreamYard.
Indeed.
Yes. So
we're planning on upgrading our StreamYard account a little bit here too, collabing together, me and Campbell. I am actually planning, we will eventually, because Raw Castaldo, I don't know if you've seen him, Campbell, he's out of LA, but he's on LeakProject a lot. Pretty good guy, goes into a lot of ancient like texts and like readings and like history and stuff too. But he does his weekly show on Fridays, like a couple hours before I do. So eventually I've been like, yeah, I'm going to have to go on with Raw. And I'm sure that we could definitely have you on with him too, because it would be a good one. Him and Archaics would probably be good, the three of you guys. We've been talking with Rex about putting together some panelist shows too. Or episodes, so we're gonna have it all going, and essentially it's gonna like alternate between doing like special guest interviews between each channel, and then like the Science of Sounds, where we'll be able to stream it on all of them simultaneously, and then our weekly alternate history shows, and my weekend at BurnEye's on LeakProject, as well as I will be doing APEC again next 2 weeks from now, in accordance with Alien Scientist as well, and Tim there. I'm sad I wasn't full. I should have got up. Amber's worked so late. Like, she's still not off work yet. It's 3 a.m. here, so I still got another half hour of some Brucey bonuses we can do before she's wrapped up, because it's still the Calgary Stampede, 10 days of extended drinking hours, fireworks, rodeo, and a grandstand, Ferris wheels, and the rest of it.
Wow. So Justin let everyone out. What a nice man what a nice lady he is.
I should almost. Actually, okay, time for Brucey bonus. Since John Levi is such a, foundational, like solid column foundation of the understanding of all of this reset world history. He just came out with his most recent, so I'll play a clip of that, and then the Olaf the Sverker, and should call her a night.
Yeah, we're heading on 3 hours, but it looks like we're going until Amber comes home. So
no, so I have to go pick her up. Oops, wrong one.
Oh, you have to go pick her up. Nah.
Oh, okay. Sorry. First, we have Olaf the Sverker, Great Wall of Tartaria. Then we will have John Levi's most recent release. So this is Olaf's mapped out the Dnieper there and this same wall of
Oh. Did Bernie freeze? Did you freeze, Bernie? Hello, did I freeze? Hello. Can you guys hear me? Can you hear me? I don't have control, I don't think. Bernie's frozen. Yes, so you can still hear me. All right. Well, you know, Bernie is, oh, he's gone. Oh, he's left me. He's dropped out. So no doubt he'll be back. But he's in Canada. So, you know, he is freezing quite clearly. So I guess we'll talk a bit and see if he comes back with John. So what are we going to play? As John Levi put out a new video or something that everyone's talking about. Have I missed something? All right, how is everyone? Who we got here? Jace, Hank Derbs, Michelle L, All the Sun, Lynn Jones, Hippie Shake, of course, Jules Luds, Pamela Stupa, M's Mad World, hello, TW, Mr. Bryce, LQ King, is just looking, I suppose it is on Campbell. BurnEye is froze. BurnEye is froze. Okay, devices. I think he's trying to get back on. Oh, something's happening. Oh, he's coming. How do I do this? I know, right? Oh, Canada. Oh, Canada. It's so cold in Canada. All right, is he back? What are you doing? Are you there?
But a lot of these are just some oddities on the map that I found.
All right, we're back.
A couple of irregular circles, but we're back to looking at what looks like another giant wall. Exactly in the same style as the previous giant wall that we looked at. How vast would this star fort have to have been? And you can see the petals extend even to here. There is another. Now again, in the last video, this wall covered hundreds upon hundreds of miles. And I don't know if you can wrap your head around the level of effort that would have to be undertaken to create these structures. How much earth would need to be moved? And again, you can see that even though it's been built over, you can still see the vague outline of this giant wall. Like I said, we'll work our way up and see what we find. Sorry about that. I hit the pause button and never even realised. It is already 1:20 in the morning, and it was up at 5:30, so I'm fairly tired, but for as long as it makes sense, I'll keep trying to pump these videos out whilst I've got the time. Because you can guarantee, as soon as the kids back tomorrow, I will be back to play Mr. Incredible, and my time will be limited again. So here we have, I'm sure some of these points have moved, because I wouldn't have marked these on the map for no reason, but nonetheless, we'll jump to the next one. Like I said, there's little to no planning goes into these videos. I pick an area that has some interesting points and I just jump straight in. If we move on up, we can see the vague, very, very, very vague outline of another star fort. And if we look at the photos, we're seeing it on plans, but we're not really seeing it on this aerial view. Nonetheless, I'm sure there is more interesting ones along the way. In the middle left field, another massive 4-pointed star fort. Actually fairly surprised that we spotted another one of the giant walls. I forgot that was there. Oh, shit.
And notice along the big canal too is pretty much parallel with this Great Wall.
Direction of this line, we can see another 4-pointed star fort. Again, in close proximity to the water, and again in close proximity to these crazy looking craters. Ugh. Sorry, I just realised I burped on recording there, sorry. If this loads, you can just about, like I say, it's just about make out the outline of this star fort again. So the plan is with these videos, like I've said previously, is to let you guys get a rough idea of where to have a peek for yourself. Because when I do it, I find oddity after oddity after oddity.
Look at that river. It's also canaled and straight. 2 canal rivers there. That's all man-made banks.
If you have enough eyes looking at it.
From what era? It's crazy.
Hopefully this video, just to carry along this theme, we completely flattened star forts. At least we had the wall in the beginning, if it does. If we zoom along, there is in the middle of the field again another 4-pointed star fort with some odd mound grown on it. I don't know if you can make it petal 1, 2, 3, and 4. It was the wrong picture that's loaded up there entirely. So we'll follow this line on. And we can just about, I've said it before, trees absolutely love growing on these star forts. We can just about make out this petal and that petal. It looks like this was perhaps a 6-pointed star fort at the time. The peculiarity with this one is it's quite a distance away from the water. And what I have found when looking at these star forts is there's often a smaller star fort that points towards the larger star fort. So I believe we're probably looking at this smaller star fort in this case, with the larger one being flattened. So I've bought another mic. Hopefully the audio quality is slightly better. If not, I'll keep buying mics until we get there. Probably a small one of these side structures, a small Jesus, the word's completely lost. It went from my mind now. I've lost the word. You know what I mean. God, maybe it is a bit too late to be recording this. Nonetheless, we'll crack out quickly. And here in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of absolute nowhere, is another beautiful looking star fort that would have required an immense amount of work to create.
This summer, seek amazement. Seek epic.
Seek truth.
Not stopped yet. It's just not quite as obvious as it was earlier on.
Now you can really see the petals of the Great Wall of Tartaria here.
Right the way along.
Sorry about
With these
stupid
star forts
YouTube
located
ads.
almost the entire length. I think it becomes obvious at this point that another perfectly square structure. I think it becomes obvious that this was used in some form of energy transform, if not some other form of technological function. Given it has been covered up and flattened, the history has been denied. We're working on speculation here, but as you can see, there's that massive wall again, and yet another star fort that sits along it. And this wall is in the exact same style as the one that we've seen in Russia, just in a worse state. There's point there, point there, point there, point there. Absolutely giant, absolutely vast in scale, and almost perfect geometry, with these perfect star forts situated to the length of it. Who was the enemy that put enough fear into the people that created this that if this was a defensive structure, this was needed? And again, you can see that this was not part of the original creation of this wall, so I think this is obvious evidence, clear evidence that it has been attacked at some point. But there is another one of these petals on this wall, or perhaps one of these rectangular structures. And again, you can see the earthen mounds here. We really need to get ourselves a couple of guys on dirt bikes and cruise along these walls and see what we can find. And again, evidence of massive structures, but in modern times, it's so easy to cover these things up. Just rip a digger right through it. But again, that wall continues. And along this wall, you will find oddities the entire way, like these trees that are planted on perfect grids. Might just be peculiar forestation techniques, but it might be the remains of something far more advanced, along with these strange circular objects. But there is more and more and more of this wall as it carries on. How many miles away it now? And many of these craters. That right there is so clearly obviously evidence of some form of artillery, if not a meteor or a comet that has struck here. If you're in the area, I suggest you go have a look, because I'm pretty sure the metal from meteors is fairly valuable. Although that's not what it is. You'll find evidence of bombardments here, 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 here. I mean, how obvious do you have to get this entire area has been blown to shit? And these people probably didn't have any idea they're living in the the remains of an ancient structure. And as we go along, an absolutely beautiful star fort this time that sit along this wall. This would have required an immense amount of not only work, not only earthworks, but mathematical calculations to get the geometry so perfect. And to situate along this absolutely staggering wall. So with the last video I made where we had hundreds of miles of wall, how many miles are we getting now if we add this one in? Of perfectly straight massive earthen walls. And I don't believe the were always earthen, I just believe the fortifications built along them were wiped out. And again, you can see petal, 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 and the spacing of these is fairly irregular. And again, we'll follow this along. If this loads, and you can see this wall continues. Again, not quite in as great condition as the one that we've seen in Russia, but just as grand, just as vast, until we get to this strange object. And although history has been severely unkind to it, we can make out that this was once again another massive star fort. And you can see where the wall goes, and you can see where these earthen mounds sit. And to try and justify that as some form of defense or offensive structure, it doesn't sit well with me. Again, the wall continues, and there is the remains of another star fort. You can see the perfect right angles there, and another petal sticking out. This is not a defensive structure in the slightest. And again, the same here. With this entire area, like I said, have a look for yourself and you will find some stuff. This entire area showing some bizarre scenery. Carry on, follow the wall. I don't know if you can make it out here. There's another petal, goes along to another petal, and on it is this rectangle, or the remains of another rectangular structure. With it looks small from the air, vast earthen ramparts. Again, hundreds of tons required. By the time we take these walls into account, millions of tons of earth needing to be removed. And we will carry on. You can just about make it the remains of this fortification, this wall here.
Purina One has the inside story on your pet's gut health. Purina One with new microbiome.
All right, sorry about these insane, stupid YouTube commercials. So that was Olaf the Sverker's part 1 of, or 2 of, I think a 3-part Great Wall of Tartaria, or Mega Wall through Russia, Ukraine series that he does. I've actually, as I've been watching this, and ever since the first toppling of Yanukovych over in the conflict zone and the Donetsk and Luhansk's People's Republics, the civil war in Ukraine, and then finding this out about these star forts and Great Wall of Tartaria that goes through there, as well as Crimea and all the pyramids that supposedly are in that area, that once the war is a little bit more settled, I'm going to try to write to the new separated republics and ask if maybe we can go over there and investigate this Great Wall of Tartaria and the star forts and the pyramids and whatnot, because there's been, before the war broke out, while it was still kind of that whole area has been pro-Russian and it's more of the Russian people there, they've been very public about disclosing and actually researching the pyramids across that area, through Crimea, through the east. So, this Great Wall of Tartaria, if 2/3 of it goes through Siberia, and, I'm sure if it helps Russia unite like the Ukraine and the rest of their people with the world, and also would help tourism in that area. Who knows? Maybe Australia and Canada can go explore the New Republic
Expose
and the
Russia.
Great Wall of Tartaria itself.
Sounds like a plan. So anyone who wants to fund us to do it as well, feel free to
Indeed.
contact. Any million or trillionaires out there?
Well, the hilarious part, Campbell, is that like if essentially we applied through the LNG or DPR, whatever, Donetsk People's Republic and Luhansk, they're not quite Russian, but I think they still get Kremlin dollars. So all of those videos that you've done with that, the Kremlin cathedral behind you, it would take it to a whole new level if their government paid for us to go over and explore, start digging in the old star forts.
Yeah, man, I want to meet Pooty Poot. Go bareback riding on a horse with no shirt on. I'm into it.
PewDiePie. Oh, Putin. Yeah. Oh, man. That would be one. Be very respectful and humble around that sort of individual.
Yeah, so, man, he would kick your ass. Not like President Brandon, who would just go, right?
And
go sniff a small child.
Oh,
I'm Ramo. Thank you very much.
Thank you, indeed. Okay, so Rome in America, Our Strange History. John Levi's new release for our Brucey bonus part 2 that we'll do right now for all of you, if that sounds good to Campbell too.
Yes. What was that? Sorry, I was reading comments. What sounds good to me?
Today's journey will bring us to Sunnyside, Utah. We're going to do a little boots on the ground. I'm going to keep it short as the video.
Rome to America, John Levi.
Video. More artistic on my other channel if you want to check it out. I thank you for being here and welcome.
Chief.
Today I want to share this coke kiln. We've looked at lime kilns before, one in Salt Lake City, where I did some boots on the ground, and always enjoy these boots on the ground explorations. One day I hope to do nothing but travel around and make videos exploring sites. I had a lot of problems on this exploration with my gear. I wasn't able to get the drone footage I wanted to. And as always, I take a bunch of footage and get home and wonder how I'm going to share all of it. So here, let's look at Sunnyside coal mine history at utahrails.net. The coal mine is located at the mouth of Whitmore Canyon, east of Price, Utah. The first coal mine was opened in 1896. The coal was of good coking quality. In 1899, the mine was purchased by the Utah Fuel Company as a subsidiary of the Rio Grande Railway. Sunnyside Mine was a major source of coking coal for the entire western United States. By 1909, the mine was putting out 3,000 tons of coal per day, with most of it feeding the 650 coke ovens that were located adjacent to the mine. Most of this coal was shipped to Anaconda, Montana. In 1943, Kaiser Steel leases the mine from the Utah Fuel Company, and these ovens remain in operation until 1958. And it doesn't look like they were ever in operation, and I'll show you that. So I took you once to the Castle Gate in a past video, in which we are told they erected the first ovens in 1888. but this didn't last very long and eventually caught fire. And here's a bunch of articles and more or less the headlines of the history of these coal kilns. And what is this coke? Real quick, coke is a gray, hard, and porous fuel with a high carbon content and few impurities, made by heating coal or oil in the absence of air. It's an important industrial product used mainly in iron ore smelting, but also as a fuel in stoves and forges when air pollution is a concern. So I was very excited when I saw a picture of these ovens, all the beautiful brick, and what seems like being covered with the same vegetation that we see all over the deserts in Utah. It would seem very natural if you're walking up here. It looks exactly like everything else. But then we have these mysterious brick domes. And I was very excited that it wasn't too far away from me, maybe an hour and a half. And I'm very excited that I came out here. A big mystery, and I won't say that I know exactly what's going on out here, but I am excited to share this with you and get your thoughts. So here's a look at the drive out there. I'm going to take a left here at this intersection, but just to show you how absolutely remote this is. Really the middle of nowhere at this point, and a spot that I've passed by at least a dozen times in my life, but never taken this left-hand turn before. The town of Sunnyside is another 11 or 12 miles up there at the base of the mountain. Typically no reason to drive up here. Now this was interesting, and I'm going to show you this before, and we're going to look at it after. It's a little rest area before you take the 10 plus mile drive, and it has this little monument, like somebody built a little miniature lime kiln or coke kiln. And this thing is nice in one way, but compared to the actual kilns, this thing is a piece of junk. And it shows me that nobody can even replicate what we're seeing. This is garbage compared to these 700 ovens that we're going to look at. They couldn't even make a small one resembling the sophisticated kilns that they supposedly made over 100 years ago. No, they couldn't. This is what we get. We'll take one more little look, and I'll zoom into some of these bricks just to show you some of the vitrification that we see on them, like this one right here. And here we can see like a glazing, almost has a plasticky feeling to it. And here as well we see bubbling. And these are just little scraps. Somebody just built these with scraps that they found at the site that we're going to look at. And I take so much footage and have a bad habit of just kind of blasting through it when I'm finally sharing it with you. But yeah, this is just a little warm-up. I just want to show you how crude this construction is. Look how big the gaps are. And let's move on. So we're driving along these rails, about 10 miles of rails, again, that would have been laid in this early time period. And now we're entering the town. Really a town that hasn't changed since it was built. Really run down, quiet little town. Up here I saw a deer just right off the road. And I know I'm in a peaceful place when I see a deer just in town. And we could see a lot of brick buildings that had been updated at one point and now are in ruins again. A lot of unused smokestacks like that one. And all around what seemed to be kind of pyramidal structures. This looked like a buried pyramid that has yet to be excavated. I pulled over to try to get a look, but it was fenced. Somebody clearly doesn't want people poking around here. So I continued towards my destination, and here we go. There's a little campground, Range Creek, Trailhead, and historic coke ovens. So here we go. Very welcoming and just really unkept. I don't know who is maintaining this or not maintaining it, but I'm glad we have access. Upon first arriving, we see this train station, a brick building in ruins, and in the background there you can see the coke ovens, at least the start of them. There were some other people here, so Chief and I went in a different direction. First approaching the first set.
I'm going to pause it for half a sec for a little bit of reference and pretext. For the time era and like the development of the rail and like just transport and logistics, these coke plant ovens, like the coke was what the refined fuel of coal that they were making for these steam engines, and like they would be like needed almost everywhere if like to power the trains or something like that. And you know, the story of just the whole train network also doesn't necessarily make sense or add up. It's the train lines with the canals and stuff, like the old world, like
transport
infrastructure.
That's here. We can kind of get a feel of what's going on here. We see two different styles of brick and what eventually turns into larger blocks underneath the lowest course of bricks. So here I just want to pause for a second and show you this amazing craftsmanship. And again, let's compare it to this. Here we go. So this is what we get when people try to rebuild a coke oven. And no comparison. This stuff is perfect. Just absolutely perfect. And the amount of not just brick making, but excavating and moving of earth is impossible for me to imagine in this early time period. Much of what looks like dirt packed on top of these is now hard as stone. So what you see looking like mud on top is actually hard as stone. These chunks have been superheated. But again, similar to the lime kiln in Salt Lake City that I explored, we have no soot. We have no fire damage on the inside of these kilns. I mean, not a shred of smoke or soot remains. It doesn't look like a single one of these kilns ever was used as an oven. That's clear. And again, you can see the dirt on top, which is now turned hard as rock. We can see impressions of brick up here, what is now resembling just a layer. And what looks like mud up here is the same color as yellow cream city brick. I mean, it's the same stuff. And by the end of this exploration, I'm asking myself, where did the heat actually come from? Above and below, or from within these supposed ovens? Every single one clean on the inside. And here's a chunk. A chunk. So what's up with this chunk? Again, is it dirt? Is it brick? Seeming to have the same consistency of the yellow bricks, but just parts of them turn to blobs. We see the imprint of brick in it. And these things...
All right. So I'm going to post the link one more time for everyone if you want to go over and watch the rest of John Levy's newest. Shout out to you, brother. Shout out to everyone and all of the work in this community, the researchers, and that maybe if Campbell, do you still want to do a Monday night stream?
Yeah, Monday, like Tuesday.
Monday morning, or start.
Yeah, Monday my time. Yeah, like lunchtime-ish. Yeah.
Or is it Tuesday? Sorry.
No, Monday.
Monday. Okay. Yes. The next one. So, we will make that one. If I don't get a hold of Paul, Olaf, or Michelle to join us on that one, then we will do a more in-depth look at some of the pyramids and the geoglyphs of the Fareham, if that sounds with everybody. Or maybe Campbell can put up a poll on the channel, and we'll give you 3 options to choose from. You never know, right?
Keep your eyes peeled. All righty. Well, we've been going for 3.5 hours. So thank you for everyone in the chat. Thank you for anyone who's been here the whole time.
Definitely.
Thank you. And thank you to everyone who contributed and donated during
generous
this
donations.
We really appreciate you. Yes, that will definitely help.
Sorry, just tossing on the trial background music that StreamYard has now let us do. Upload our own tracks, so I'll be getting some of Ominous's recordings and beats, as well as a whole. There's about 1,000 songs that I owned and produced for my record label Up North Records when I was younger. Ominous being one of the MCs and performers on it, but as well as hundreds of just beats, like the instrumentals and stuff. So they'd kind of be perfect for this sort of stuff now that we can use it. My aim is 3 more minutes to end that at 3:33.
Right. We've got to waste 2.5 minutes. So thank you again, everyone who's been in the chat. We love you all. Thanks for all your contributions. Keep an eye out. Of course, Brisbane event coming up soon. There may be a date change, as Miss Kelly Jones seems to have double booked herself. I won't mention what she's doing because I don't know if I should, but it's pretty cool, and no doubt she'll let you know. But she's doing, I'll let her talk. And so what else is going on? Thank you to all the subs, of course. Make sure you go and sub to BurnEye's channel and share it and like. Especially, if you were sub to it and to the old channel that got deleted, go sub to the new one. And yeah, share all the work around, guys. Obviously this is a community, and everyone's being so suppressed that the more sharing we get, like with videos, then at least we can keep our views up and keep getting the info out to new people. So make sure you do that. What else is news? My bus. I've started a new group in Telegram called the Tartari Van, and we're going to have a get together, and people are going to fix my bus for me, basically, because I'm only one-handed. So thank you to everyone who's already joined and offered to help. And if anyone else is in the vicinity of Perth and wants to help, let me know, and we'll probably have a bit of a catch up as well, and I don't know, bring some food and a chat and all that kind of good stuff. And thank you. Yes, can everyone give us a like? Thank you very much. I'm going to call you Looking because it's too hard to say.
Sorry, Cam, we can unmute and keep talking over it with that.